Yeah. I didn't mute myself this time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream. My name, of course, is Alm Hexblade, your head guildmaster and chief barista. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope your days was nice and warm, because on my side it was a little bit cold. So, you know, whatever. Anyway, it's Fun Out Friday. We get to watch videos on Friday. Isn't that exciting? I'm excited. I like cold days. I do too. It means that you get to stay inside and be a little bit more comfy. You know. Hot weather, not hot weather. Warm weather. You know. The thing. Anyway. Or for a walk, I mean that too. It's nice. It's nice. I only realized that it was happening now because of, like, oh my gosh. It's like 4 in the afternoon and it feels like it's evening. This is terrible. Oh wait, that's how seasons work. Well, and also today we are not being kids or squid, so I'm gonna just remove that. Anyway. Yep, Friday. Let's go do the Friday stuff. We got a lot of stuff today since I think I'm a little bit behind. Apologies for that, but, you know, it kind of is what it is. Also, I need to move this box. It's not in the right spot. All right, first video of the day. First video of the day. It's going to be from Bright Sun Films. I love these guys. They do really good videos about, like, old and defunct things. So we're going to learn about Fry's Electronics, which is unfortunately a place I wish I went to. Apparently I was late on that. I thought they would have survived, but, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, let's get started. I haven't seen this video either, so let's see here. I'm going to mute. There we go.
Around the world.
Oh, come on. Is there captions? And they're auto-generated. It's close enough.
Electronic stores around the world, specifically in America, have been a dying breed. One of the largest, Circuit City, met a dramatic and painful end, with even Best Buy struggling on their worst days. At a more regional scale was a beloved retail brand with a very particular level of charm. Their stores dominated California and made a smaller presence in several other states around America. But in early 2021, their long fall from grace finally came to a conclusion when all of their stores were liquidated, shuttered, and now some sitting abandoned. A unique and depressing reality of the quirky brand that was both loved and hated by its customers. What's up, guys? My name is Jake.
Wasn't there a scene in Mr. Robot filmed at a Fry's?
Probably. Let's take a look at how this
I wouldn't be surprised.
40-year-old electronics store brand came crumbling down and left a vast portfolio of abandoned stores in its wake. This is Fry's Electronics.
Today's episode of Abandoned is sponsored by HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com and use the code BSF16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 gifts.
It's San Francisco, 1954, and 2 brothers named Charles and Donald Fry opened up a small grocery store off a family loan. It was called Fry's Food and Drug, and actually grew into a small, somewhat profitable chain. So much so, in fact, that in 1972, they sold the company to Dillon's. The brothers then passed their newly found wealth down the family tree, where Charles's 3 sons had decided to pool their money together and start their own business. Their idea was to open an electronics store from the ever-emerging consumer market, but treat it like the business model of a grocery store. Since, of course, that was the industry they were coming from, and it was an interesting business case, merging the small electronic stores of the time like Radio Shack and the vast selection and space of a supermarket. Fry's Electronics opened their first store in Sunnyvale, California on May 17th, 1980.
Man, I wish I could visit there.
Also similar to grocery stores, Fry's began selling shelf space and using that extra income aside from sales to advertise. The stores also
Jay,
had no
hello.
restaurant inside
Alma,
and
that's
sold
me.
food at a loss as a method to get shoppers through the door, make them happy,
Howdy.
hope they buy merchandise, and leave with a good impression. This was a great start for a brand new company, and naturally, expansion was warranted. But on the flip side, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Employees would join their staff often with little to no knowledge of electronics, something that would end up biting them later on. Fry's grew into a new location.
You decided to
also
fuck
in
around, now you're
Sunnyvale,
finding
and
it.
this time making it something unique.
Nice to join.
The idea, much like
Thank you
Best
for joining,
Buys,
Jay.
was to build out their storefronts to look completely different and set them apart. They hired a former designer from Lucasfilm to build out their increasingly audacious themes. Through the 90s, they continued to expand, opening stores across the tech capital of California and theming their stores accordingly. Each store would cost upwards of $1 million to build and had exterior and interior theming elements that were highly detailed.
Some giving the appearance of space with
Oh,
space
wow.
stations around you,
Ooh.
others under the sea in Atlantis, and others getting really out there with the Wild West and exploring the fantasy world of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh god, what
So
the
many
hell?
more themes were explored through their ever-increasing number of locations. Fry's made the move to acquire the 6-store Incredible Universe chain, which was owned by Tandy, or better known as Radio Shack. They spent around
shit, Tandy.
$116 million
Okay.
on the established electronic big box chain, and soon rebranded all of them to Fry's.
There's
In doing
cows.
So they had now made the jump out of state into Texas, Arizona, and Oregon. Fry's was now becoming a regional brand with a much wider reach than they had just a few years prior. While growth made sense, the unproven markets they were now entering was a bit like driving down a dark road as fast as you can. Without
Well,
really
the
understanding
cow
what's
one?
in front of
The
you,
cow one looks
there's
fun.
potential for
Was it because it
action.
was in Texas?
By the early 2000s,
Maybe.
Fry's was the store most tech
Wilsonville,
nerds liked
Oregon.
to visit.
Ah.
It was fun and an enjoyable experience going there, and each store had over 50,000 items to choose from. Through
Yo, hold up. What were those prices? Hold on, we're going back. I need to see.
big sales there, and each tech nerds liked to visit.
Hold on.
It was
Yo, 128 megabyte USB flash drive. $60. Oh man, early 2000s was messed up.
fun and an
I could get that for like $6. Probably less. Actually, no, I can get 120 gigabytes for like $6. Yeah, that was on the cheap
enjoyable
end too.
experience going there,
RC car.
and each store
Okay, that's a
had
toy.
over
Doesn't really count.
50,000
9-inch LCD portable CD DVD player. $700. Ah. I love it when prices and technology just decrease. This is fun.
items to choose from. Through big sales and over holidays, there would often be large lines snaking out front. There was just something about walking the endless aisles of tech goods, gawking at the ever-evolving products. There was always a component or part for you, and the brand grew a very loyal base of shoppers. There was now 17 across the west coast of America, but now a new potential threat was emerging in the form of the internet. Fry spent $8
Must have been
million
that very early
acquiring
2000s.
the
Yes.
established online marketplace called Siberian Outpost and renamed it to Outpost.com. Though in 2006, they would launch their own dedicated website with Fries.com. A pretty late start for e-commerce with their own branding. Scandal then plagued the company over the recession.
Aw,
In
scandal.
2008, Asaf Umar Siddiqui, the acting VP of Merchandising and Operations, was charged with fraud for conducting what is known as a kickback scheme. He basically overcharged Fry's for vendors whom he had made secret deals with on prices. He also overcharged some vendors, all for which he would send to his dummy LLCs to fund his insane gambling habits.
What the hell,
That was
yo?
only scandal for
Whoa.
executives. In 2012, the company paid $2.3 million to settle a sexual harassment lawsuit where they had allegedly fired a female employee for reporting harassment.
Not cool.
Regardless of the bad press, Fry's was now opening new stores.
All
In
right.
2014, they had reached their largest number of
I can't believe he
locations yet,
pulled a
34
crazy Eddie.
in
Yeah.
9 states.
Kind of whack.
17 in California, 8 in Texas, 2 in Arizona, another 2 in Georgia, and 1 each in Illinois, Indiana, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. It was
Wow,
certainly a
that is
wide
West
reach
Coast.
with a very localized brand presence wherever they operated.
Sounds like
Despite
a smile
this
and
wide
stand
reach,
team.
the
Yeah.
perception Fry's had only declined from here.
Oh,
The brand
oh.
had suffered from almost crippling supply chain issues. leading to shelves inside their stores shockingly empty, which was a pretty stark contrast since some of their stores were over 120,000 square feet. Their longtime practices on how they operated also finally started to catch up with them. As far back as 1997, they were accused of making customers jump through hoops who were just trying to make simple returns. A pretty blatant anti-consumer practice. On top of this, their employees were just not very well versed with customer service or the very products they were instructed to sell. To make matters worse, some were on commission, meaning you often have young, inexperienced employees whose best interest is to sell you something they don't even know anything about.
Oh no.
That's not a great business model for customer satisfaction, especially where people's expectations have only increased in modern times. In early 2020, Fry's had closed their oldest store in Palo Alto. The dawn of the pandemic was tough for all retailers.
Yeah, this is the part I know.
Specifically put Fry's into a precarious situation. While they were a private company and haven't disclosed financial details and specifics, it can very well be assumed that they were losing money at an alarming pace. Employees around this time were beginning to sound the alarm. Through 2020,
Yeah,
the brand
shit went
announced the
south
closure
really
of
bad.
several more of their locations, permanently shuttering and liquidating all assets within. This enormous downsizing sparked much speculation on the tumultuous
Why are there frying pans?
future for the chain. But then everyone's suspicions had finally been confirmed. On February 24th, 2021, Fry's announced they would be liquidating all remaining stores and closing them for good. The company cited the escalating
I didn't watch the LGR video
complications
today
in
so
the
I could watch
retail
here,
markets
but instead I'm
and challenges faced with the COVID-19 pandemic. Soon, all of Fry's electronic stores went into closing liquidation, giving one final chance for lifelong shoppers to say goodbye. For many, it was quite surreal for these highly themed and playful
I hope we get to the
stores
MDA and I say,
hollow,
we
disheveled
hopefully will.
shelves
We'll
of
see.
what
We'll
these
see.
were. By May
We're just running
2021,
through
the
these, you
final
know?
store had closed its doors, marking the end of Fry's Electronics,
Sad.
a 36-year-old company.
Sad.
While the struggles of the pandemic certainly did play a huge part on their ultimate downfall, for anyone who had actually been shopping there prior, the writing was already on the wall. Brick-and-mortar electronics stores in America is a very tough business. We saw how difficult it was for two large chains to compete in the same country, and ultimately only one came out alive. But even Best Buy has struggled here or there, fighting for their own survival. Best Buy more or less has the brick-and-mortar electronic market covered, and with the rise of online retailers, competition is extremely fierce. Now,
Yeah,
the
Best
very
Buy's still
quirky
not
nature
doing
of
well.
Fry's stores is always something I can appreciate, but it came with a lot of caveats. Shelves were nearly empty, their stores were aging, and customer service had left a lot to be desired. Younger generations really had no reason to visit the stores, and through their last decade open, they almost certainly saw and felt the decline of customers. I'd imagine the vast majority of their core repeat shoppers tend to skew older and have a personal connection to the brand's past. Since their closure, many of the locations have either already been developed or are in the process. But there are some locations still left standing completely abandoned. In fact, I visited one of them.
Oh, here we go.
Store in Burbank, California.
Urban
The one with the
exploration.
spaceship over the entrance.
Yeah.
Despite its closure only being a few months before I filmed this footage, it was a ghostly reminder of the once booming retailer. Others, like in Wilsonville, Oregon,
course it's-
are already visibly abandoned, with boards covering the front doors and windows. Since it's been a rather
Oh, hey,
short
the
time
Nope
since
store.
their bankruptcy, much of the documentation of the remaining locations will likely come in.
Oh, that's a
So it'll be
piano.
a pretty interesting visual comparison to see what Fry's stores look like abandoned, if of course there are any left. So really, those are going to be the last remaining legacy of Fry's. Or is it? So remember the grocery chain the two brothers sold in the 70s? Well, the company that they sold it to was acquired by Kroger in the early 80s. They decided to keep the brand, and now Fry's Food and Drug has over 120 locations across the state of Arizona. So in
What?
some weird way, despite
What?
having no formal connection to any of the members of the Fry family,
It's
the
back.
name still lives on. Quite successfully, in fact, all across Arizona. It even has a similar logo to the electronics store. And if anything, that's their most
cool.
permanent legacy, and a fitting one too, since that's where it all started from. The only downside of those stores is that you can't shop for bread while a massive ant looks down upon you.
Nope.
What a weird way to end this video. Look, fries may be gone forever, but you can still fry up your own meat.
Wow, the sponsor's at the end. Thank you, Bright Sun Films, so I can skip it entirely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For watching.
Besides, Jake, he does really good videos. He did a video about, I think it was Now Dreamland. He did a recent one about the Disney cruise liner. No revenue. I don't get money off this. What are you talking about? If you want, if you want to get me revenue, then you'd subscribe. Anyway, next video. This one is just a fun installation or an attraction in France that I saw, which I love. It's called the Aeroplume, and yeah, there's the question: how much helium does it take to lift a person? And let's find out the answer. You evaporated Tom. I did not evaporate Tom. Tom will return.
About 70,000 litres.
Tom's here.
And yes, those are real people flying under real helium balloons. But if you just want to know the answer to how much helium you need to lift a person, well, an average adult weighs about 70 kilos. In normal conditions, 1 litre of helium will provide enough lift for about 1 gram, so you'd need about 70,000 litres. Proving that and finding out how this is done safely and how you can also have a go, that's the rest of this video. I've wanted to do something like this for years. Of course I have. I think lots of people have dreamt of flying away on balloons, but as far as I knew, the logistics and safety required made it impossible unless you had a ridiculous budget. And then someone told me about Aeroplume in France, and the budget dropped to €60 for a ticket. So the rest of this video isn't going to be scripted. It's just me, one of the team here holding my camera, and about 70,000 litres of helium that's going to lift me up.
This I just thought was just
This
cute.
hangar was
So.
built in
Hangar.
It was used first for the blimp.
I shouldn't make fun of
Fly
French
over
people.
The coast to detect the enemy submarines, and in 2000, it goes out of the military domain. Be careful to your head.
Oh, yeah, that's solid. Okay.
Yeah. The history of the Aeroplume starts maybe more than 20 years ago. That's a blimp who was created by a man who is called Jean-Pierre David, as a French artist.
That was much easier than I thought it would be.
He
It's okay
discovered
to make
the
fun
world
of French.
the
No, I don't make fun of. I don't want to make fun of anybody.
An inventor and an
Nah.
artist.
I'd be sticking out my tongue if I
He
could.
decided to create his
Nah.
own blimp, big enough to allow him to fly by beating the wings. Since 2009, we propose people to
I do love it. Just is straight up called Le Hangar.
50 meters under the ground. We propose the flight here during all the French school holidays. So if we just let you go now,
Whoa.
you will go on the top and you won't be able to go down ever, say?
Right.
So if I want you to be free and autonomous, I have to make you reach the static balance.
Okay.
That's why, depending on your weight,
Yep.
I can add some little weight like this
Got it.
to your
He always getting ballast.
float. If you just take off this
Oh,
one, what is happening? You're just floating, yeah?
just floating.
We have 3 aeroplanes here. and
He's buoyant.
Different by their volumes. We have a bigger one that can carry up to 90 kilograms.
Hi,
We have
Brandon.
one that can carry up to 70 kilograms and one that can carry up to 45. Now you can take the wings by the black handle. Everything you will do it really slowly.
Yep.
That's the same as if you were swimming.
Okay.
So first I will show you how to move forward.
Okay.
You want the wings to be flat, like this,
Yep.
in order to go, take some air and push behind.
Like
Same-
paddling a kayak.
Yeah, exactly the same as in kayak.
And if I want to turn, it's with one.
Exactly. So you know how to turn. If you are doing only one wings, you will turn. Doesn't react so quickly,
Yeah.
but
Breaking news: a British man is flying away in a helium-filled balloon.
it will continue
It's Balloon Boy too.
very long time.
This time with controls.
Inertia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at him go.
I didn't feel like I was turning at all, and then suddenly I was.
Yeah. And we can also go back if you want to by pushing the air on the front.
This reminds me of playing what?
To go up, the same as if you were swimming again.
Yeah.
When you
I just remember they have
up,
French mutuals.
air
Now
is
now I
going
feel kind of
under
bad.
the wings.
And that's-
Exactly. That's what I don't want to make fun of people.
Yeah.
To make the same angle when you
Oh.
go back. And this is every time like this from the
This is reminding me, weirdly enough, of when I played what was it, Guns of Icarus with friends.
if you want to
the
go
balloon
down,
had the
you
same
can
kind of, the airship had like the same kind of style momentum.
Natural.
yeah, the opposite.
This does look very fun.
At the beginning of the season, we just choose to fill the blimp with 100% helium there. And with the time, the helium is going out, there is some leaks, so we can just add some more helium to compensate. And the really one problem here is the osmosis. So there is the air present outside that wants to go in the aeroplume, and once he's in, we can't extract him. So the more we spend the time here, the more air is inside, so the less he can carry. Once a year, we have the obligation to just empty everything and refill it again. Of course, we are conscious of the helium because it's very expensive, and we don't want to waste helium. When you don't do nothing, once you get high,
Yeah.
the
I start
balloon
to descend again.
is going down.
Yeah.
That's because, and maybe we will repeat that after, but we made you reach the static balance,
Yeah.
and it depends of the temperature.
Oh.
And the more higher
Oh.
you goes,
I'm definitely going up quite quickly now.
that's why I just take off 1 kilogram.
Look at him
The higher
go.
you are, the hotter it is. Now you reach a new situation of static balance with the new condition of temperature. Because of the
He's weirdly
the
graceful
balloon
in
and the inertia, we have to pilot really slowly, and that's why we are indoor, to be protected against the wind and all the variation of the weather conditions.
I noticed you had a sign on the door saying make sure that the door is closed, because the slightest breeze would blow me completely off course.
There is no problem of safety because we're following you on the ground, always linked by a little tether.
But the tether is slack. You're not holding me down here, I'm just floating.
No,
Look at him
you
go.
are totally free. If you're slow and quiet enough, you will realize how to pilot and have the time to anticipate, so the tether is not used. Take some break and observe that it's still turning left. Yeah, you can rest also.
Wow.
If it's too late to avoid the wall or the roof, it will pull, not for your safety, but for the safety of the blimp. Otherwise, if we just touch so many times, it will break.
I like that
That's not a
comment.
pressurized balloon. That's just an envelope filled with helium. So the helium will just go out slowly.
We're gonna protect the balloon, not you, though, because the balloon costs a lot more money.
Slowly.
I'm amazed how calm and safe I feel right now.
It's happened one time here. Some elements from the roof just go through the envelope, and the pilot didn't notice that. He was just trying to go up, and oh, it's difficult because the helium was going out, so he landed.
All right, permission to land?
Yeah.
I'm
More than
I'm just like,
4,000
I can't believe the floor at the bottom is just
at the brim
concrete.
and zero accident.
Oh, you know what? I mean, it's not.
It's straight up just
I'll
concrete.
take it.
If you can
That's kind of scary.
I'm gonna try.
But I mean, you know,
There we go.
helium balloon.
catch it,
Got it.
That's fun.
perfect. So I will just take the time to link to the blimp, and I
Yeah.
will help you to go out. It was a really good flight. Tom.
Splash.
I'm expecting you to take the table up with me here.
No, she's attached to the ground.
Like,
You
All
can.
right.
Yeah, you can if you want to.
although considering how buoyant you are, it's not like you're gonna run away,
It was a
because eventually you'll just fall,
Thank
right?
you.
Eventually you'll just fall to the ground because of the helium like escaping. So like in theory, you're safe. It's just the length of time. Oh, no. Not that video. You caught me watching Splatoon videos. Yeah, ignoring that. It was very cute, right? Okay, next video. This one's gonna be a long one. And it's gonna be about California. So if you know nothing about US geography, I'm gonna apologize for the next 30 minutes. But there are captions. So this is gonna be interesting. It's also about cartography, so. Baja California, maybe.
A legacy in Silicon Valley.
Because Palo Alto is kind of this mythical place.
Humans have always searched for mythical, magical places. Atlantis, El Dorado, Shangri-La. But none of them have actually been found, besides
Baja's
one.
Blast. Baja's Blast.
It started on a typical workday for me when I was sifting through maps, which, yes, is something I routinely just do. Oh my god. Paper maps, digitized maps, animated maps, I just can't get enough. So I'm sitting there looking through some maps and I stumble upon this. This is a super old British map of North America with a giant island off the west coast. The island is labeled California.
Maps are cool, yeah.
Okay, so clearly some cartographer just got this totally wrong and made a mistake, right? But wait. Here's another. And another. And another? What is going on here? This one's from 1785 or from 1750. This one's from 1690 and from 1650. Like these maps of California as an island are spanning over 200 years. Drawn by the Dutch and the Germans and the British and the Japanese. Everyone is making a map showing California as an island. Is this like a tectonic plates thing? Like, was California an island? Because as we dug, we found thousands of these maps. California as an island everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, cartography's cool.
To figure out what...
Geography is also cool.
Luckily, I live in Washington, D.C., so there's somewhere I need to go visit to figure this out.
California. Oh yeah, I just want to mention, the DC Metro sucks. That's all I needed to say. I've been on this train system. It sucks. It feels like I got stuck in the 80s and I have to pay money to get out. Which, by the way, you do. You have to, you get a ticket. You get your ticket. You go in. You like check in to get inside the terminal. You travel around, and then you have to get a ticket machine, and then you have to go to another ticket machine to leave, and that's when you actually pay. If you lose your ticket, you just pay like $5 or whatever the fuck. It sucks. Anyway. They are spacious though. They are spacious though, and they have lots of seats, so I kind of vibe with that. But otherwise, DC Metro sucks.
Hey,
it was clean and quiet. Well, yeah.
Looking for a nuclear fallout shelter, I found one.
Still sucks.
The Library of Congress.
It still sucks. Oh, I did not know. Yeah, this is where the tweets are stored. Is there a book that has all my inane ramblings on Twitter?
That's also my background as well, that map. Really? Yeah, yes. I love it. It's just so beautiful.
Hi, I'd like to know about the California island conspiracy theory. Right this way, sir. Yes.
Wow. Oh my god. So wait, this is really weird. I'm looking at these original maps. 1600s. California is an island. But then look at this one. This is a map from like a few decades earlier.
I apologize for the crunching noises. I'm eating a salad.
Earlier, like decades earlier in like the 1500s, they had it right. And it looks pretty accurate to the California we know today. And then suddenly the whole world started mapping California as an island. What? This is super weird.
Well, I mean, probably. Well, here's one of my theories before he keeps going. Just kind of out of idea. Someone mapped it fucked up. Someone mapped it like that, and everyone bothered to just not. Everyone just copied it because no one has the ability to go to California in those time periods. Maybe we'll put one of those. We'll see. I keep pausing for this 30-minute video.
Figure out what the hell is going on with California.
God, that's a clip out of context that I want.
This first started as a nerdy history cartography question, but soon we fell into a way deeper story than we signed up for. The story of a mythical place called California, full of gold and magic and dreams, fueled by people who weren't totally grounded in reality, but rather in dreams of something bigger, something different.
River got turned into a sea?
May not
Maybe.
truly exist. This island teaches us something bigger than just how humans draw maps. It's actually more about how humans want to see the world, about how fake ideas spread and why. So, let me show you
Love the zoom in on Facebook about talking about fake ideas.
how for hundreds of years California was an island, and how it still kind of is.
But yeah, everyone make your guesses now. We'll find out.
Hey, wake up for a second. Do you mind if I chat with you about something?
Yes.
I make YouTube videos, and in order to do that, I have a business that allows me to do that, and the business is from sponsorships. And so I'm making a video today that's sponsored by a company called Storyblocks, which is a company I've used for like a decade, even before they came to sponsor a video. Storyblocks is like a massive library of visual and audio assets.
Why is this so funny?
To make your videos better. So creators of all sizes, small, medium, large, giant creative teams can subscribe to Storyblocks.
Sounds like the beginning of an SCP article.
Point they need, and can
Well, there's that SCP article about Massachusetts not being a state and is entirely just an SCP compound.
that is ever growing.
That's my favorite one about
Thousands and
states.
thousands of clips. I use this all the time for my videos. One of the big challenges for creators is that it's really hard to go out into the field and shoot stuff. And so when you're making a video, you don't have a lot of like really good visual assets. With Storyblocks, you literally have a subscription.
This is maybe the best worst
visuals,
sponsorship block I've ever seen.
Animation templates. It's a really freaking good deal. In the video I'm making right now, it's about maps of
Speaking of American history and SCP type stuff, has anyone
You're
seen
gonna
one?
see like tons
I've not. That doesn't sound familiar to me. I want to check it out,
because I use it all the time.
especially if it's SCPS.
Thank you, Storyblocks, for supporting this video. Thank you for listening. There's a link in my description. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also sends you to Storyblocks. So you
I'm
can
feeling
check out
secondhand embarrassment so hard right now.
something that fits
Me
your
too.
budget. So now I'm headed back to the studio to figure out what the hell is going on with California.
Me too.
Being mapped as an island.
I just couldn't look away because of the audacity. I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
Okay, this is California, and this is Baja California, which is a part of Mexico.
Ah, there's
And
Baja.
This is the Sea of Cortez.
Ah, there we
Not
go.
a full-blown sea. It's actually a gulf, the Gulf of.
I also did not know it was called Baja California.
And you're about to find out why.
That makes the earlier comments better. Makes
I was
sense.
a 19-year-old Mormon missionary living in Baja California for 2 years. Anyway, that is not important. Let's talk
Okay.
about how this became an island. California originally was an idea, a myth. It was a fictional setting written into this novel from 1510 in Spain, like 500 years ago. California was like Atlantis or the Garden of Eden. The author described it as an island populated by black women without any men existing there. On the entire island, there was no metal other than gold, and it was ruled by Queen Calafia, hence California. Again, it was a fake place. This is not a real place. This is a guy writing a novel about a fake place. But while the author doesn't say exactly where this is, he basically says that it is, quote, at the right hand of the Indies. Reminder that the Indies is like over here in Southeast Asia. This novel was published in Spain about 50 years after the invention of the printing press. So printed books were like a new technology, a big thing. And this book was really popular. Oh, and by the way, the book also mentions that the women in California, these like women warriors, were, quote, of beautiful and robust bodies. So you have new technology, books, and beautifully robust women. Basically clickbait for Spanish sailors in the 1500s. They were out there exploring the world and reading this book while they were out to sea. Oh, and remember, at this time, these Spanish sailors are out exploring
The power of buff women continues. It's always buff women. You know what? People like buff women.
world that Columbus had run into when he was trying to find a quicker way to get to Asia.
There he is. Hi, Columbus.
So it's like 10 years after Columbus, and Spain is sending people to explore the New World, and by explore we mean, wink wink, extract resources and like destroy the population and make Spain rich. And one of those expeditions had this guy on board, Hernan Cortez. He came over as a young dude, but he quickly became one of the most shrewd, aggressive, like detail-oriented colonizers that Spain had. He goes on a big expedition where he takes his 500 men and 16 horses to go look for gold.
Colonizers.
Cortez was secretly harboring another goal for this expedition. He was reading the romance novel that everyone else was reading, and he kind of wanted to find California, the fictional place in the book.
I love the citation. We have no direct evidence that Cortez is reading the novel, but we can reasonably infer that he is aware of the mythical island of California or some version of a women-filled island of gold. That is like a pretty one hell of an asterisk, my dude, but at least it's in the video as disclosure.
This would be like some guy being out in like Nepal on a hike or something, and he's like, I secretly want to find Middle Earth. This kind of reminds me when I was in Wales in 2011, and I like secretly wanted to find Hogwarts. Like that kind of actually happened. I was young, and I was like, what if I stumble upon Hogwarts? Like, I get it, Cortez. I get it. You read it in the book, and you're like, this place is probably real. Cortez, a legitimate Spanish explorer, is now looking for a fake place in a book. So Cortez, after he stumbles upon a great civilization, allies with their enemies and destroys them with his guns and his smallpox. Small side note that can be covered in a different time. He eventually makes it over here. Oh, by the way, Cortez was kind of going rogue this whole time. He didn't have permission to do this. And the Spanish leadership were kind of freaking out. So much so that Cortez had to write a bunch of letters justifying how good all of this conquest was. Anyway, Cortez sends out a mission to go explore a little further off this coast, like around here. Holy shit, they found something! Cortez is so giddy about this new discovery that he writes a letter back to the king saying that his men talked to some natives who, quote, affirm that there is an island.
I love the caption said speaking foreign language, but it is Spanish.
Inhabited only by women, and there are no men. That men come every once in a while for them to like conceive, but they only keep the female children.
10 jornadas desde provincia.
It's only 10 days away.
Que es muy rica.
And that this island is very rich in pearls,
perlas,
and gold.
Y oro.
What?
Holy shit.
Is he lying?
Men, only women, rich in gold? And where does Cortez think he is right now?
I love conspiracy maps. It's funny.
Like this in these people's minds, Cortez is just to the right of the Indies, which is exactly the location described in the book for California. Cortez just discovered California. Oh. Man, this is amazing. I can feel the excitement of Cortez, who literally has spent years thinking about this island, and now he thinks he's found it. California. But this is not what the King of Spain signed up for. So the King of Spain's like, no, dude, no, we're not looking for like mythical islands. So he cuts off all of the funding for any of these like expeditions. So Cortez turns to his own personal wealth and starts funding these expeditions on his own.
Oh, wow.
Map
Okay.
out and find California, the island.
Now I have
Rich motherfucker. Cool.
He personally goes on a voyage and starts mapping, and lo and behold, he's finding what looks like an island. And they set up a colony right here on this island, and they name the island California.
His own, well stolen from natives, probably. I mean, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Remember that Cortez is like right here. He's looking up this massive gulf that he thinks is like a full-blown sea that you can like circumnavigate. But he's just like at the bottom of Baja California, the peninsula. And worst of all, he's burning his own cash to keep exploring this California island idea. He's got California fever. Maybe the first, but definitely not the last to have it.
Gold rush?
Going to California.
So Cortez keeps going, and he's feeling really excited. He's like, if this is an island, then that means that this sea probably extends up and over the top of North America, and maybe there's a whole strait that goes all the way back to Spain, making it super easy for us to get between Spain and Asia. So he keeps
okay, my dude, sure.
mapping, and
Fuck.
oh no. Womp womp. Cortez ruined the myth for everyone. And he like wasted away a bunch of his money in the process. But wait a minute. This is like still the beginning of the story. Like you see how much longer is left in this video. Like this isn't the story. What's crazy is what happens next. Because even though Cortez found out that California wasn't an island, this was all before this happened. And this is where the story gets very juicy. IMHO. Because somehow, even after all of this, California still somehow managed to make the world believe that it was an island for hundreds of years. Okay, so after the whole Cortez California dreaming incident, Spain went on to ignore mapping California for a very long time. I mean, they were really busy conquering and destroying and pillaging a lot of other places in the region. That is until the late 1500s,
Where they catch wind of a British sailor who happens to be their literal sworn enemy.
who apparently just landed here in what was going to become Oregon to claim all of this land for Britain. And Spain was like, oh shit, we got to get back in the game up there in that place. What was it called again? Cortez called it like California, after like from the novel or something. Anyway, let's get some guys back up there to like
California.
map it out. We can't be asleep at the wheel while the British are showing up on the west coast of North America. So they send out this expedition of guys to go map the west coast of California. Because after all, if you can map something, you can conquer it. That's all they were thinking about here was Britain. Okay, and this is where things get so good, all because
Hey, you can't use a picture of the Townsends. What are you doing? Sorry.
another California dreamer, this guy,
Dream of
Fray Antonio de la Ascensión.
Californication.
A Spanish dude who wasn't really a sailor or an explorer or a cartographer. He was kind of like a Catholic priest. Aboard this expedition, there were legit map makers, and Fray Antonio was literally the assistant. He had some knowledge of map making, but like he was literally the plan B in case the main map maker died. His job was really just to be religious. Boy, did he do a lot more than that. Fray Antonio, the peon assistant, is actually the most important person in this entire story because he had an agenda. He really wanted Spain to settle more aggressively in California. He felt the pull of California, this mythical, cool place on the west coast, and it was his life's mission to sell the idea of Spain coming to California and setting up more permanent settlements. No one on board this expedition was on the same page. They were there just simply mapping the west coast. That's all they were doing. So they're going along this route. Fray Antonio's on the ship, probably really bored because he's literally not doing anything. He's looking overboard at this land sort of in the distance, and he starts to see everything through his lens of total bias. This bias that California was amazing and that Spain should settle it. So they're passing like right here on their way to the west coast. And Fray Antonio writes, quote, "Here begins the entrance of the Sea of California, which continues all the way up north into this strait that actually goes above North America. And that if you go, you can find passage and navigation to Spain."
Really, dude?
Wait, what?
Really, my dude?
Antonio, you're sitting on the side of a boat
He's
right
BSing.
here, looking at basically this. And from that, you've deduced that California is an island and that there's a passage above North America that goes back to Spain? I swear, California does this to people. It makes them ignore reality in the name of a big dream.
Yet the thought of giving up everything here and starting fresh in California, it's so tempting and exhilarating.
That is a theme here. It happened to Cortez, it's happening to Fray Antonio. The guys on the ship are like, dude, listen, Antonio, we get it. You want Spain to settle in California, but that's not what this mission is about. We're here to map the west coast of North America, so just like chill out and do your job, sit around and be religious. And Fray Antonio like continues to wax super nostalgic. He's like, San Diego is a very fine bay, very fine anchorage, protected from all the winds and undertow. Like, anyway, this expedition goes on to
That's kind of
fulfill its
BS,
original
isn't
purpose.
it?
They map
I don't
the
remember
west coast
California
of
that much.
California, and they create this decent looking map.
It seems kind of
Fray
BS.
Antonio walked away from this mission with a very different view. He was convinced that California was an island and that there was a mythical northern passage that existed all the way back to Spain. And he was so audacious to say, quote, "I believe it will be necessary and important to use what he's created, what he saw, for revising and correcting the existing maps of the earth, since the existing maps basically are very different than what they are in fact." Translation,
Okay.
Spain, you need to change your maps to what I saw when I was sitting there bored looking over the boat. Because California is an island. I mean, the confidence in this guy is astounding. Fray Antonio, makes a big ruckus about this. He tries to get Spain to change their maps to make California an island. It got to the point where the official mapmaker of Spain had to actually say, "Dude, you're wrong." He said, quote, "Since no proof of the Lake of Gold or Strait of Anian, which is that northern strait, exists, and since California has not been circumnavigated, little credit should be given to these concepts." Like, dude, Fray Antonio, you're fake news, you've been debunked, like, give it up. But Fray Antonio does not give it up. For the next 2 decades, he continues to pitch his fake version of California, sending loads of reports and maps of his version of California, what he saw, all with the hope that Spain would catch on and come settle California. And he started to actually gain some followers.
What the?
He was pitching this. He was like on a campaign to like spread this idea that California is an island. I saw it with my own eyes. And this is where it gets crazy because guess who enters the story? But pirates. Early 1600s is like the golden age for pirates.
All right, here we go. Piracy.
Pirates were sailing the seas. And
Yay.
because Spain was like the best at like stealing stuff and conquering places, a Spanish ship was always like
Correct.
jackpot for the pirates. One such Spanish ship was sailing back from the New World to Spain. And on board this ship was one of Fray Antonio's letters with a copy of his fake map that showed
Secret of Baja.
and the ship was taken over
Yeah.
by Dutch pirates. They took the ship,
Yeah.
they steal all the stuff, and they stumble upon this BS fake map from Fray Antonio. Like a deep fake of the map of North America. And the pirates are like, whoa, look at this. The Spanish have California as an island. Little context here, maps back then were kind of a national secret. Like they didn't share maps very much. So these Dutch guys are like, holy shit, we just discovered a big Spanish secret that California is an island and that there's actually a strait that goes over the top of North America. And they've been keeping it from us the whole time. So this map from Fray Antonio gets back to the Netherlands, which at the time were rising as like really good map makers and sailors. And boom. A few years later, the fake news just got retweeted. Here it is.
I hate the
This
metaphors.
little map on the cover page of some Dutch atlas. You see for the first time, California not connected to the mainland. But wait, Cortez already mapped this and showed that this wasn't an island like 100 years ago. No, what is happening? The answer is Fray Antonio and pirates. The myth was back. Shortly after that, another map pops up. The Dutch are slowly adopting the idea of California as an island. And in true fake news form, everyone else was like, well, like the Dutch, they're legit. They said that California is an island, so I guess it is.
Word eventually spread to London.
Oh, here we go.
This map maker made this map. Wait a minute, I know this map. This is the one that originally got me interested in this whole entire topic. Whoa, hold on.
And now I finally understand what it says in this lower left. California, sometimes supposed to be a part of the Western continent, but since by a Spanish chart taken by Hollanders, it is found to be a goodly island. British cartographer, verified account, retweets Fray Antonio's delusion, and suddenly this map with California as an island is legitimized and starts to spread like wildfire. Seems legit, says a Dutch cartographer. Boom, retweet. Then to Germany, then to France, then to Italy, then to Sweden. And Turkey is now drawing California as an island. And Austria is drawing California as an island. And now Japan is drawing California as an island. Retweet, retweet, retweet. Oof, man, where are the mods on this one? Who's gonna fact check this? The entire globe now thinks that California is an island. And so yeah, this is how it happened. Lots of wishful thinking, a few crazy coincidences with pirates. The whole world thinks California is an island. For 200 years. 200 years, that's like several lifetimes. All because this one guy was obsessed with a fake vision and he wouldn't let it go. Now, of course, eventually explorers would go and fact check this and debunk it, and maps slowly but surely start to phase out California as an island. But I want to argue that this wasn't just Fray Antonio and his wishful thinking. I kind of think that California does this to people. Starting with Cortez and continuing to this day, California has continued to have a mythical pull on people. At least it has on European people coming to California looking for something magical, looking for gold, eventually actually finding gold. Like, which is kind of insane to me, that the prophecy from a 1510 novel written in Spain kind of came true in 1849 when a bunch of people found gold in California. As the local people who had been in California for thousands of years were exterminated and replaced by industrial
here we go.
California remained and continues to be a place where people go to dream big.
Because Palo Alto is kind of this mythical place where, you know, all the startups come from.
Like Cortez, who spent all of his money trying to like figure out what California was, or Fray Antonio, who spent
My dad, who works for the Spanish Armada, says California is an island and they're releasing a new football.
Special. And ultimately, it worked. People go to California to chase dreams that usually aren't grounded in any sense of reality.
You've been on the cover of magazines. You could transform healthcare not only here in America, but around.
This is the wildest transition to Theranos. I'll let him have it, though.
The world. world.
They go and they push and they push and they push on some vision of something new, even when those dreams rest on spreading disinformation to the whole world. Was that too on the nose? Am I stretching the analogy too much with disinformation and propaganda?
You are, mainly because you had the perfect metaphor and then decided on fake news from Facebook, which is a little bit of a kind of a... He's making some connections, but also those don't exist anymore and it's a separate thing. I guess California as a, like, in terms of the mythos of being a land of prosperity is still kind of there. But ever since the gold rush, that kind of stopped. And then people just started living there. I have no idea how Silicon Valley happened, though.
Antonio and Silicon Valley, like, are you getting this? I'll stop. The point is that to me, this is the beauty and the peril of California as a place. Yeah, it's attached to the continent, we all know that, but California kind of is an island. Ecologically, it has thousands of totally unique species of flora and fauna that don't exist anywhere else. Economically, it's the 5th biggest economy on Earth. And culturally, I mean, California is its own culture. And the result is that today, people still do what those guys were doing in the 1600s. Coming west to California to chase dreams, to chase gold, to chase something new. In that sense, California is an island. Fray Antonio was right the whole time. Okay, see ya.
Yeah. There's some weird mythical presence about it. He makes a lot of different videos. It's just kind of, I don't know. While I do appreciate the content, I always like it. It's just kind of weird to see those weird stretches from like A to B, like from thing and past to popular culture. You don't need to do that. Because I'm like, I'm here for history. I don't need the modern connection. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But Johnny Harris does make good videos, so good on him. It was a very long but very entertaining video. All right, next one. Speaking of gold, speaking of golden currency, here's a video from CoffeeZilla talking about cryptocurrency in El Salvador after 1 year after they actually made it like legal currency, and how well it's doing. Like big question mark.
Bitcoin has been the official currency of El Salvador for an entire year. So, how's it going? Well, here's what the media's saying.
The results have been mixed at best.
President Bukele has invested nearly $100 million of public money on Bitcoin. Most of the coins have not risen in value since being bought.
Using Bitcoin remains a challenge. At this grocery store, we held up a line for 10 minutes as the cashier waited for our payment to clear.
They said that the transaction was declined, but on my Bitcoin wallet, it showed that it had gone through.
Okay, so
it's the future.
The start and
the future.
El Salvador to ditch Bitcoin and rethink crypto. We might be tempted to end the video there, but Bitcoiners would say that's a mistake. Of course, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, wants people to rethink Bitcoin. Just last week, the International Horse Fund was telling people to rethink cars. In fact, maybe all this FUD from the lamestream media is just them fighting against a future that will make them obsolete. That's what the Bitcoiners would say. They think El Salvador is the first in a long line of dominoes. It's the first of many countries that will inevitably accept Bitcoin. These are just technical glitches. These price falls, I mean, they're just hiccups in a longer plan. But Bitcoiners aren't exactly unbiased themselves. Of course they're going to be fans of El Salvador with it becoming a crypto tax haven. Billionaires became fans of the Cayman Islands for the same reason. So yeah, I'm kind of sick of hearing from Bitcoin bros too. In fact, everyone is. Even the family members of these guys are starting to put their foot down.
Oh, here we go.
Popular Bitcoiner saying that he's actually been banned from his family's Thanksgiving, all because of Bitcoin.
So Max, it's Thanksgiving. We didn't even notice it because we're not in America. But what the hell are you doing here, even though it's Thanksgiving?
Right. Well, Simon, you know, we didn't get invited to any of our families' Thanksgiving this year because they're so sick of us talking about Bitcoin. We tried. They hung up on us. They're just like, go away. We're sick of you.
That's why I always say you don't talk religion, politics, or global financial policies at the dinner table. You just don't do it. That, by the way, is Max Kaiser. And in addition to being on the Thanksgiving do not call list, he's also one
Great
of the
mugshot.
reasons that El Salvador planned to issue volcano bonds. This is a scheme to use geothermal energy from their volcanoes to mine Bitcoin. Of course, all that computer mining equipment costs money, so the government was going to issue bonds to pay for all that new infrastructure, but at the last minute has delayed the fundraising. So this is quite a complicated story. There's a lot of competing stakeholders who all want you to believe something different. But what I want to know is, what is the truth? What's the real situation with Bitcoin in El Salvador a year later? It's time for a deep dive on this. We're going to start at the most obvious place, price. Obviously, a lot of the conversation around Bitcoin for El Salvador is going to center around how it has performed as an asset. And here, things aren't great. El Salvador bought the dip many times, and then the dip dipped many times. They spent over $100 million on Bitcoin in total at an average price of $45,000. Bitcoin is now worth roughly $20,000, which means they've taken a 50% loss on these purchases, which is a huge waste of resources. So sure,
$50 million loss. Like what?
you could say they're hodling, but this is a pretty big fail. But of course, that's not the whole story. A big reason Bitcoin sounded promising in a place like El Salvador is because a large amount of money being sent there is from overseas. This is often called remittances, and these international wire transfers cost a ton in fees for El Salvador. And the idea is that some of that money they could save if they use Bitcoin, because in theory, if Bitcoin could lower transaction fees abroad, even if it did nothing else, that could be a net win for El Salvador. But this only works if people actually use Bitcoin. And that's kind of a problem, because this isn't Silicon Valley where everyone has a phone, crypto, and borderline personality disorder. This is El Salvador. 70% of
How many videos are we
have a bank.
How many videos are in a row are we gonna get the Theranos founder just being trashed on? That's the second one.
Much less cryptocurrency. So it might be a huge challenge for El Salvador to get its citizens to actually even use crypto in the first place. And that's what we're going to talk about next, adoption. El Salvador's plan for crypto adoption is actually pretty simple. They want their citizens to download something called Chivo, which is a crypto wallet app. And here they've been pretty successful. Chivo has 4 million downloads, and almost 70% of El Salvadorians say they know about this app. However, this is where the good news for El Salvador sort of ends, because a working paper by NBER, or this, they say that the primary interest in Chivo was driven by a $30 bonus that the government gave away with each sign-on, which, for context, minimum wage in El Salvador is only $12 a day. So downloading Chivo and getting $30 for free was the equivalent for some of working almost 3 days straight. So it's a no-brainer. Now, of course, the government would hope that people would continue to use this Chivo app well after they've spent their initial free $30.
Oh, here we go.
But a survey from that same paper shows that this is probably not the case. 60% of El Salvadorians said no to the question of using Chivo as a $30 bonus. 70% haven't loaded money onto Chivo beyond the free bonus.
No.
Or just using it for the free handout. Not only that, even if you have Bitcoin on your app, it's hard to use in El Salvador, since a reported 80% of businesses do not accept it as legal currency, despite it being so. With all of that said, where does that leave us with our earlier question about remittances and money being sent overseas? Well, the numbers are in. Depending on who you're asking and over what time period, remittances through crypto are roughly 1.6 to 3.9% of the total value of remittances.
Okay, no. Yeah, hold on. Official current. Let's do the math. Official currency, 80% of businesses don't accept it. Adoption rate was 70%, and only 30% of that 70%, only 30% of that 70% actually kept using the app. So with that math, that's about a what? 20? No, not 21. Yeah. Wait, hold on. I can't do math. Yeah, that's like a 21% of the population are actually using this app. The 70% that make that up just did it for the free $30 sign-on bonus, which I don't blame them considering the average wage in El Salvador is $12. So, free money, never use it again. Yeah, no long-term incentive. Oopsie.
Which is not good, because one of the key arguments for Bitcoin is that it's going to be used for this thing, right? It's going to lower international fees. But in order for that to happen, you have to use it. So the most optimistic scenario here is that people haven't figured out that it's good for that, or that more people are going to use Chivo in the future. However, a lot of reports say that El Salvadorians just don't trust Bitcoin to hold its value, which you can hardly blame them for given their experience with it. But speaking of that, holding its value, this brings us to another argument for Bitcoin, which is about banking, or more specifically, people who have banking. As I said earlier, the majority of people in El Salvador don't have access to financial institutions, as this reporter for CNBC explains.
70% of people in El Salvador don't have access to bank accounts. So for them, the concept of having a savings account is almost foreign. And those are the types of reasons that the government is putting forward to try to get this widespread adopted.
All right, that argument makes sense. Crypto is going to allow people without a bank to have one, and that could be really cool. However, there's still problems here, because that same survey, it turns out, shows that the people who are most likely to know about Chivo and cryptocurrency are exactly the people who don't need it. They are most likely already banked and already educated, have cell phones with internet. This is
there it is.
The opposite.
Oh, hey, what do you know?
Of the unbanked you'd be theoretically targeting. So those are the main arguments for and against Bitcoin within El Salvador, and that's how it's been doing on each of those things, from price to adoption, remittances, and also access to banking. And it's been pretty rough, I have to admit. However, remember that El Salvador's decision still has some vocal supporters, which I don't want to neglect, starting with the actual El Salvadorians. Some would say that Bitcoin is a huge benefit to them because it allows them to do things like pay electric bills in a way they could never do before.
Y lo envío y ahí ya lo tengo pagado.
Y ya está.
Sí.
Muy fácil.
Sí.
How long, more or less, would it take you in the past to do the same thing?
En lo que voy en el bus, posiblemente una hora, tal vez una hora de espera en el puerto, tal vez unas 3 horas.
3 hours, yay.
3 hours, and now it's just, boom, instant in your phone.
Sí.
Okay, look, that's honestly heartwarming, I have to admit. And if there's a silver lining here, it's people like that benefiting. But in the press, I have to say, those aren't really the people on the front lines pushing the Bitcoin narrative forward in El Salvador. That award goes to rich people who don't get invited to Thanksgiving, but do get El Salvadorian citizenship via the president himself because of volcano bond donations.
So the idea was floated, hey, you put 100,000 into these volcano bonds and you're on the fast track to citizenship or permanent residency. So I tweeted that, we're very interested in this. We would love to become Salvadorian citizens. And within a half hour, we were getting tweets back and feedback back from the president and other people in the government saying, we'll make you citizens ASAP, by the end of this year.
Okay. This finally brings me to my main question. I want to...
What? What's that? You can just do that?
Leave you with. Right?
Bro.
Because people on the...
Bro, buy some Bitcoin and I can buy some bonds for Bitcoin and I can make you president. I can make you a citizen of El Salvador. What? It sounds like some kind of weird sign-on bonus.
Bitcoin side are going to say it's going great. People crypto are going to say, oh, it's always going terrible. But I really want to leave you with this thought. Who is the Bitcoin push benefiting? Obviously, in the press, it's all to help the poor people.
MLMs.
Bank the unbanked. But if you actually look at what El Salvador has done, not what they say they're doing, you really have to wonder whether this is about helping poor people or if it's about helping people who are already well off. I mean, if you look at their plan to issue volcano bonds to wealthy investors, they're giving citizenship to wealthy investors. They're giving a tax haven to wealthy investors.
Oh, I didn't notice the tax haven part.
Bitcoin City supposedly in the shape of a Bitcoin.
What the?
The thing literally
what?
looks like El Dorado. You think most of the citizens are going to be able to live there? They plan a lookout at the top of the volcano that looks like you're going to sacrifice to the Satoshi gods. I mean, who are you catering to at this point? If the answer is Thanksgiving refugees, that's fine, but at least say that and be honest about it. Because from where I'm sitting, I see most of the benefit going to the people already at the top. So anyways, that's basically my assessment of El Salvador. Next year, we'll check in again to see how it's doing, see if things have changed, because remember, it's still early. So maybe everything turns around and the Bitcoin bros are right. I don't know. I'm open to that. Either way, pump the stock. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
I do like CoffeeZilla stuff, especially for fraud stuff. Actually, out of curiosity, how is the bit price for Bitcoin doing right now?
In a world where scammers run amok.
Hold on. There we go. Oh, it's even worse than the video. Oh no, it's going down. Hold on. When was this video? When was that posted?
Bitcoin has been.
Oh, a week ago. This video was posted a week ago. It's gone down more over the past. It went down 3% in the past 2 days. Oh my god. Okay. So, still going down. Price isn't drop. Price is dropping. All right. Next video is going to be really short. It's from Sammy Yuri about making that, I think you guys have probably seen it, a redstone computer. Big ol' cool redstone computer. Eight kilobytes program memory. Oh, this is the Chungus 2 video? Yes. What do you mean there's hardware acceleration? How do you do that? Oh, tweaking blocks and icons. I can barely see, but the fact that it is working is cool. I'm also very curious about... Yeah, video sped up roughly 2 million times. What is the clock rate of this? Because, like, what? Redstone runs at 60 hertz? Is it 60 or... It's like 60 or 30 hertz. I forgot. It's one of the two. Or am I wrong? One kilohertz? No, wait. No. That's too... Wait, are you talking about the Chungus? 1 kilohertz? That's still like a... Yeah, that's 1,000 cycles. Oh, Chungus 2. Okay. Honestly, that's kind of... I mean, that's close to... That's close to modern sort of IS processors. Almost. Oh, Redstone at 20K. Okay. That's still really impressive. Even, I mean, like, it's kind of cool that you now have to have, like, custom Minecraft servers to even get something for a fast enough clock rate. Because the closest thing I made in Redstone, I think, was like just a minecart, automated like minecart return cave system travel-y thing. That was really about it. And that thing had problems. But people making like 8-bit computers in like just stuff is fun, especially when, I mean, it's like, you know, logic gates are a thing in games, so people are going to make primitive computers. And doing this is always a fun project. So that was cool. It's cute. Ah, we're moving on from toys that are cool to toys that are definitely not cool. This is from Neon Vintage. The video's title is literally, "This toy illegally spied on 6.4 million children." And guess what? It's not Minecraft. All right, let's go. Let's see what we got.
VTech admitting tonight it's been targeted by hackers.
This latest hack impacts
hackers.
5 million people worldwide have had their data stolen.
Why would this hacker want, you know, hundreds or thousands of photos of children or whatever else that they're collecting?
Well, let's find out
Yikes.
today. So to understand this story, we need to take it back a year. So it's Christmas morning, and you just bought both of your kids the brand new VTech InnoTab 3 learning tablet, and man, your kids are stoked. So behind the screams of joy, you know deep down they're gonna be safe on the web, but more importantly, they're gonna learn. Now, maybe you're not super tech savvy being a boomer and all, but at least with VTech, you can send your kids videos, photos,
The whole thing was such a disaster. I'm so curious.
all age appropriate.
With VTech Kid Connect, you get the comfort of hearing each other's voice. I love you, Mom. Anywhere, anytime.
And for you, this tablet is just another device to add to your Wi-Fi network, like your smartwatch, your smart mug. And VTech tells you that all of your data is going to be safe. But connecting everything we own to the internet opens up a new can of worms for us.
Also, hey, he has the same microphone that I do, but for some reason he's using the USB import. Get a mixer, my dude.
This toy isn't designed for security, it's designed to have fun.
Nah.
And what VTech failed to tell you was how much illegal data they would collect on your
Just
child.
when you think it's bad, the situation gets somehow worse. They had no idea how to handle the situation. I'm so ready for a train wreck. Let's go.
Think of black hoodies, green text, Adderall, mainframes, but that's more of a Hollywood trope. You see, real hackers are interested in making a system do what it was never intended for. Hackers look for exploits. And when a group of hackers found this new VTech tablet, they did what they do best. Online forums sprung up dedicated to just hacking the InnoTab 3. One guy figured out how to run Doom.
Let's go.
Another guy popped it open and was able to get root access in the Linux operating system. And pretty soon,
Yo, does this say putt-putt?
the tablet had its own little thriving hacking community all online.
Yo, I want to play putt-putt.
21-year-old security researcher working for Malwarebytes, which is pretty impressive, honestly. And he
damn.
knew a bit more than your average Joe when it came to finding exploits. So when he stumbled upon this VTech hacking forum, he became fascinated with the community. So he picked one up at his local store. So after a few weeks of messing around with it, he discovered the tablet talked to a website pretty often, planetvtech.com. Now, there's really nothing out of the ordinary with that, but when he checked the site, he kind of noticed a pretty big problem. Planet VTech was using Adobe Flash for its login.
No!
Let me put this in perspective.
No.
Flash has been banished from the internet in 2020 because it is riddled with exploits and vulnerable to SQL injections. Now, for those that don't know, SQL injections are like one of the biggest security threats for a website online. But what is it? Now, let's say you fill out an online form, and instead of typing in your name like a good boy, you're a bad boy this time, and you put a piece of malicious code, a SQL injection. Now, once you hit enter, the site will take that piece of code as a command for the database rather than just a piece of data. And this allows the hacker to steal, modify, or add data to the entire of the site. We're talking emails, credit cards, phone numbers, passwords. Now, today there's lots of tools to protect yourself against this.
Oh no, it's Mr. Johnny Drop Tables. No.
Must have a vulnerable input page. And in that case, Adobe Flash is honestly probably the worst thing you could possibly have. So see, and Slipstream looked through
here we go
that he had to execute SQL injections, and he could try one on the site, though if he was, he'd be committing a federal crime, and he would probably risk his pretty good job that he had. But he thought he probably shouldn't even try, because VTech has to have their security on point, right? Nope. As a 21-year-old kid with his brain not even fully developed, he loads it up and hits enter on the script. Bam!
Holy f***, I have root. That was easy. What can I find?
AKA Slipstream, a 21-year-old kid. had complete access to VTech's network. He couldn't believe it, a $2 billion company with an open door to their backend. Now, at this point, Slipstream should have just left the network and alerted VTech of the security gap, and then hopefully they would have forgiven him for hacking in, but he didn't do that. Let's remember, 21-year-old half-developed brain. So he's in the network and he starts snooping around.
No. No, 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 no.
Now, he didn't have time to actually look inside and see what.
Oh, fuck, here we go.
He'll check it later. So he clones everything he can find and then quickly disconnects from planetvtech.com.
No.
Wore off. Slipstream had just realized he had committed a federal crime, and a pretty big one at that. Stealing of over 4,833,678 accounts.
Oh my god.
Holy hell, on the dark web, your data goes for $65 a pop, so times that, that's $314 million. Even if he was to make 100th of that, that's a pretty nice payday.
Bro, you work for malware tech. You gotta disclose this shit. Why do you take the entire thing? What's wrong with you?
Slipstream wasn't in it for the money. It was just his curiosity. And when that curiosity led him to take a closer look at the stolen trove of data, it hit through in his stomach. Because this wasn't your average data breach. It was the data of children. We're talking full names, email addresses, questions, home addresses, who their parents are, what's their address, everything. Essentially, anyone with access to this database could say, here is 7-year-old Tom Beck with his dad, Mark Beck. They live at 123 Oakview Lane. His password is 456. Their security question is, what's your dog's first name? Answer, Rex. markbeck@hotmail.com. Pretty
Holy
The scariest
fuck.
part of all of this was the thousands of messages and videos and pictures of children who had used the tablet. It was essentially the data for anyone who would ever register with VTech, which is a $2 billion company. Now, Slipstream just couldn't believe it, that he had just taken the identities of children.
Bro.
He had 3 choices at this
Disclose.
Number 1, sell the data. Number 2, tell VTech about the security gap and maybe they'll fix it. Or number 3, tell the media about VTech's security gap and then they'll have to fix it.
Well, 3 is also a good
Now,
option.
weeks later,
Well, you have to do 2 and 3.
receives an encrypted
Please.
message from an unknown number. It was a hacker
Please.
who wanted to remain anonymous and hand over the database of 4.8 million
Bro.
accounts from a children's tablet company, VTech. Now, this hacker had made it clear that he had never sold or was going to sell this data. He said, quote, I just want these issues made aware and fixed, he said. But most important of all,
Bro.
the hacker wanted him to break this story. Now, for Lorenzo, the hardest part wasn't writing the article about this. He needed to verify that this even happened, because any story about a data breach could just tank a company's stock and lose them millions of dollars. So yeah, you better make damn sure that you do your due diligence on this. Now, for Lorenzo to verify this, one person came to mind, Troy Hunt. Now, he's known as the data breach expert, the creator of HaveIBeenPwned.com, where you can check to see if your personal data has been compromised. So this
Good
guy
website.
knows his. So Lorenzo sends him all of the VTech files, and the minute Troy opens them up, he is astounded by how bad the whole thing is. The identities of 200,000 children who are on average 7 years old. 4.8 million customer email addresses with their corresponding unencrypted passwords. Now, the passwords weren't what's called hashed with MD5. Now, MD5 is a crypto.
Whoa, wait, did he say that they weren't stored with hash? Well, hold on.
Plain text, but what's
Oh. Okay, that's not that bad. Still kind of fucked, but hey.
hashed with MD5. Now, MD5 is a cryptography algorithm that's been broken for about 20 years, meaning that all of these passwords could be cracked easily within minutes. But then that didn't even matter, because the secret questions and answers for the whole password recovery were stored in plain text, meaning anyone could just reset the password and use that information for other accounts tied to that email. Now, this is bad, but he needed to make sure, how was this data even real? Because this thing is fabricated data breaches. Now, Troy's website, Have I Been Pwned, allows users to notify them when their email's in a data breach. Now, this is like a massive repository of every data breach that has ever happened. So he cross-examined the VTech database, the Have I Been Pwned database, and he finds 18 emails that have been involved. So he reaches out, and it's a pretty big stretch, and he emails them asking for some help, if they'd be willing to verify some non-sensitive data, you know, where they live at and if they had a VTech account. And all he could do now was just wait. But thank God, because within 24 hours, 6 people respond back.
Yes, that's my data, no doubt about it.
So it looked like all the signs were pointing to this data being real. But it even gets worse, because even though there were tens of thousands of children...
Okay, I'm back. What level of disaster we're on? We're at, the level of disaster we're currently at is The 21-year-old idiot didn't disclose the breach properly and decided to immediately go to the press about it. And now they're verifying the information, and now we are also learning that what in the flying fuck, the password reset, the security questions are all in plain text, and the passwords are hashed in a way that they're easily crackable. So it doesn't even matter. I'm in so many levels of I'm shocked. I'm scared. How are we only halfway in the video? How can this possibly get worse?
Video files. They were all encrypted. That same database they were in had the decryption keys for all of it.
Fuck.
It didn't even matter. VTech had up so bad. So with Lorenzo having the full confidence that this breach, the whole thing happened, now we had the mission of trying to tell VTech about this incident. And I say mission because you think...
Hey Diamolos, hey Yam, how's it going?
Easy. Nope. Emails referring him to this guy, telling him to call here, telling him to leave a voicemail over here, back and forth, and then finally, after a couple of days, he finally got a
long time no see, I know,
said,
right?
On November 14th, an unauthorized party accessed their VTech customer data on our Learning Lodge App Store customer database, and we were not aware of this unauthorized...
So why do these toys talk to the internet? Why do these toys talk to the internet? Because they're basically like Babby's first tablet, and they can play games, and they can send videos and messages over to the parents who have an account attached to it. Yamos, you discovered stuff about yourself about a year ago. Let me guess. Oh yeah, it was like that's stupid. Brandon, you didn't hear most of it. The passwords were hashed using MD5. Everything else was in plain text. The videos and messages were encrypted, but the server also had the encryption key, so there's that. Yeah, no, all this is stupid. Diamolos, if it is what I think it is, just give me a little smile. I missed the details of the toy specifically. It is basically Babby's first tablet with internet connectivity. So, yeah.
Wow, that's how bad
possibly.
They didn't even know that it even happened. So just days later, November 27th, VTech then sends out this super watered-down press release telling everyone about the hack. But they never mentioned how many accounts were compromised, that nothing was even encrypted, or that even their kids' data was involved. But thank God, because the next day, Motherboard released their article about the breach and reveals what actually happened. And man, people were...
Oh, here we go.
Names, personal details, pictures children had uploaded, and chat messages between them and their parents. The only good news is the hacker doesn't seem to want to publish any of it.
Photos in the chat log, which is really unsettling information.
What's the one thing?
Oh, there was a chat log?
No. This hack.
Probably everything they have given VTech has been compromised.
Front page news around the world. Everyone just running the story.
Oh no.
They're just dumbfounded that a children's toy company can make such a stupid mistake when it came to the data of their kids. Now, VTech had to make a tough choice because they were going to shut down all of their App Store platforms for all of their toys for 2 months to fix the servers. Imagine if you bought a toy that did not work for 2 months.
How many ads are they going to throw at you? I don't know, man.
So the day after they stated they got hacked, they said the hack was actually way worse than anyone ever said. That those 200,000 accounts of kids, it was actually 6 million children that were hacked. Wild.
Wait, 6 million?
Those 2 months while VTech servers were down and their security upgrades,
Yamos,
they
thank
have another
you.
surprise in store for all of the parents. They update their website terms of service. God, this is so bad. That any information you send or receive during your use of this site may not be secure and may be intercepted or later acquired by unauthorized party.
They put it in their terms of service that they knew they're gonna get hacked and just give up all right of privacy? No, that's not how you do it. No. Oh my God. That can't be legal. When was this? When was this? I need to know when this was because what the hell? What in the fresh flying fuck is this? Also, did you have suspicions of me as well? Because I saw it. Let's say birds of a feather flock together, and people I know who were just kind of tight who people I know who were tight back in the ye old days, quote unquote ye old days. Yeah, I was just kind of waiting. It's more like it's more like I'm not surprised. It is a happy welcome. So, yes. Also, if you want to DM me any details in Discord, you can let me know, and we can have a conversation about it, okay? Okay. Also, what the fuck? Yo, this is the worst thing ever. I've never seen something this bad. How are they... Okay, here's the part that I'm baffled at right now. How are parents not suing the absolute fuck out of the company right now? How did they let this part get through before I hear of lawsuits? This would be like... Thought about sending you a Discord message when I found out, but it's... No, dude. I know you. Send me a Discord message. Anyway, some probably are. Yeah, you're right. I'm surprised I just haven't heard about it yet, because this is like... This is further... Like, the class action would have been when the 6.4 million leak, the account leak happened. Not enough for this. There shouldn't be enough time for VTech to make this stupid announcement and edit their terms of service. But this... How are we 2/3 in the video and this is... Is this gonna get worse? I'm so scared.
Dude.
This is bad.
In other words, if VTech ever gets hacked again, it's the customers have no ground for complaining because they already said it wasn't secure.
That's not...
Is that? So then at that point, the government...
Oh, there we go.
Ask questions.
There's Uncle Sam. All right.
Like this about their security. Senators would write public letters asking if they sold the data to anyone or did they collect data on kids that were under 12. Okay, real quick. So while I'm editing this video, I found something wild I had to share. So Senator Joe Barton, who wrote this letter to VTech, strangely enough, had his own data leaked on the internet a year later. And by data, I mean private photos, text messages. God, he's a big boy. Let's just say Joe Barton isn't a senator anymore.
Yeah.
Because
okay, anyway.
They didn't just violate their customers.
How does this not violate cop? There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is.
Said that number one,
COPPA violation. Let's go.
Data of 6 million children, and then number two, they never told the parents that their children's data would even be collected.
How the fuck? How do you not disclose that? Also, how is it not like? How do you not disclose that? Even though it's literally a tablet you give to your kids that can record and send messages to them. Oh my... I can't... even if they did, it'd be super illegal to collect it. Oh yeah, some of the kids were... Average age was 7. Bro! Oh, what the... What the... What just happened? How can you be this bad?
Which is insane to think about today. For a company as big as VTech, $2 billion, the FTC would settle with them for $650,000. Or to put it a little differently,
that's not even $1 per kid.
10 cents a child. That's what the child's data is worth to the government.
Jeez, it was worth like $30 to hackers, maybe.
Damn. VTech didn't have to admit or deny any wrongdoing. Just a real slap on the wrist.
What?
What's VTech up to these days? Well, they're killing it. They just came out with their Kitty Buzz 3 phone, baby monitors, webcams for kids. They're doing just fine. Would I buy anything from them? Probably not. Now, Slipstream had laid low after he talked to Lorenzo, and kind of no one really heard.
They got away with it?
29 days after this whole ordeal, the English police finally tracked down and arrested a 21-year-old man and seized all of his assets.
My God.
His crime? Hacking into VTech. Now, the police at the time didn't even state his name or even show a photo of him. But the story doesn't end here, because for that unknown hacker Slipstream, well, today we actually know his name. Zamas Clark. Now, 1 year after the hack, now at 22 years old, the
if you can't go to jail for violating copy, it's just a fine. Still, I just wish it was higher.
Don't worry, I had to look it up. I don't know what it was either. It's like a first-time offense where you admit guilt, but you're not prosecuted, and you're pretty much let off the hook.
Oh,
honestly,
okay.
He got pretty lucky, because even if VTech had no valid excuse for being vulnerable to SQL injection, like no one really does today, just a hacker accidentally causing damage to where they had to shut down all of their servers for 2 months and lose out on millions of dollars, they could have pinned that him. See, a good analogy for what he did is he brought a loaded gun into the TSA checkpoint and fired it off into the air. He didn't harm anyone, but he still committed a crime. Now, you would think that getting a slap on the wrist and a chance at life again would be some kind of deterrent from illegally hacking people. But No. So just 2 years later, Slipstream gained access into Microsoft's internal servers where he stole over 43,000 confidential files. We're talking confidential copies of pre-release windows, betas of games, the works. And then he uploaded a piece of malware onto the network, and then he was arrested a week later in June 2017.
Bro, what the hell?
Clark was bailed out immediately, but he was given no computer...
Wait. Clark was then bailed out without any restrictions on computer use, and then went out to hack Nintendo's internal network in March.
Restrictions, and then guess what he did? He went to go hack into the Nintendo internal network, and he stole 2.5 terabytes from Nintendo.
Wait, is that the leak? Was that the Nintendo Mega Leak? Even the one that had Luigi as a playable character in Mario 64, that one? I need a, oh my god, no fucking way.
Talking linked games, source codes.
Yeah, there it is. There was Luigi.
And he stole 2.5 terabytes from Nintendo. We're talking linked.
Oh, was this the, what was this? Project Horizon? File me, swap Indian.
Games,
Luigi.
Source code.
What was this?
It is the big...
Yeah, it's... Oh my god.
Biggest leak ever to happen from Nintendo. But the craziest thing is he was never incarcerated because he's autistic and they were concerned of that making him a target while he was in prison. So in 2019 at 24 years old, Zamus Clark, Slipstream, would admit to hacking into Nintendo and Microsoft and stealing confidential information. So in the middle of editing this video, I kept coming across these
I need to get hacking
about surveillance technology, but the craziest thing was Slipstream's name was credited in all of them, along with his Twitter handle. Now I thought this didn't really make sense. I mean, Slipstream is from England, but like, what the hell would he know about North Korea? So I contacted one of the researchers on this PowerPoint, and they led me to an article from 2015. Now, a North Korean news agency interviewed Slipstream, and you may be wondering why. Because Slipstream hacked into North Korea in 2015. Now, he didn't just hack in, and he stole the only version that we have ever seen of Red Star OS, which is like their...
He was the guy who got Red Star.
Operating system that they have. Now let me put this in perspective on how absolutely insane this is. People had only seen screenshots of this operating system. No one had ever seen a
oh my god!
And stole it and put it out there for everyone for free to download.
He just fucking posted it on the Pirate Bay and Reddit.
Absolutely insane. Now if you're interested in seeing Red Star OS in action, I do recommend Mudahar's video, link down below. So let me just sum up Slipstream's career.
Oh my god!
He then hacked into Microsoft and stole 43,000 confidential files. He then hacked into Nintendo and caused the biggest data leak in Nintendo's history. And then he hacked into North Korea and stole their operating system, all before the age of 24. So Slipstream, if you're watching this, I'm not condoning what you did, but god damn, is that impressive. Now, times are really changing, and concerns for our data are no longer confined to just what we deliberately...
Please don't be an ad, 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 please don't be an ad.
Data, location, habits,
please don't be an ad.
Walking speed. And the scariest thing about all of this is that biometric data carries a new level of risk. Unlike passwords, you can't just...
Please don't.
Been compromised. Now, companies think that our data is the most valuable asset for them. But when there's a data breach nearly every week due to...
Music is screaming ad.
They don't even care. Because if they really...
Once he says it, I'm stopping.
Everything they could to protect it.
Oh my god, he didn't! Yo, he didn't drop an ad! Yo, that's a subscription for me! Oh, good for you, base! Anyway, hi now. Also, DMOs, I think this guy needs to be hired by some governments. I'm surprised he just didn't get straight up hired by North Korea. But also, I wouldn't take a job offer from North Korea. He's working at Malwarebytes, though, so, like, good for him. No VPNs or password managers? Well, no, but I would like to tell you about today's sponsor, Bitwarden. Bitwarden is a password manager that lets you manage your passwords and one-time factor authentication codes, all basically for free. You can sign up using, I don't have any damn reference code, but you can use, go to bitwarden.com. Or, I think so. Yeah, you can log on to bitwarden.com and sign on and get that free. Also, as a bonus for Bitwarden, out of all the other password managers, they haven't been hacked yet. you know, I'm pretty sure that's kind of a W. They haven't been hacked yet, and they don't have and they don't actually have the key. You do. So, get started today. It's free. If you want other benefits like, you know, advanced 2-factor authentication and other things like that, it's less than $1 a month. $10 annual. I wish I got sponsored, to be honest, because I would use this for my life. Also, yeah, oh, this is the channel that also got me this video. I'm like, how this device illegally won 44.9 million from, I think it's like slots in Vegas. And I'm like, oh, it's a Raspberry Pi Zero? I think I heard about this news story, but it sounds dope and I want it. Oh yeah, a job in North Korea would probably land you in jail. Oh yeah, no, definitely. It would probably be like treason. Assuming you don't move to North Korea. But also, yeah, like the only part that I don't understand about this guy is that there are ways to disclose there are ways to disclose, like, you know, packs. There are responsible ways to disclose these things. Why didn't he do any of them? That's the part that's kind of surprising me. Because, like, hacking things is like, you know, like getting reputation and hiring stuff because you hacked a lot of stuff is harder than finding exploits, reporting the responsibility, and getting credit for that. Because one path is definitely harder and will lend and might, you know, and have you end up in jail. And the other is probably like a good resume builder. I mean, both are good resume builders, but one is harder to get out of because it's going to land you in jail. So, hack responsibly, and if you find a glitch, responsibly report it. And then if they don't bother, post it. And just have and then watch the fire burn. So, that's the proper way to do it. I mean, people have reported vulnerabilities have been sued, but it's an easier thing to get out of. Especially if it's, like, proper disclosure. Because, like, remember the thing with the VTech hack is that he found it and then just took the data. He could have just found it, reported it, and then it's up to really VTech to do something. And if not, he discloses it, and then it's on them because he did proper disclosure. Also, you can just make on the, you know, I mean, like, yeah, he might not have a lawyer for that, to be honest, but still. Bug bounties are a thing, especially when it's like, I don't know, protecting kids. The hell? Anyway, so here is a video. This one came up on my timeline, and I thought it was interesting. Is a blind accessible history of gaming, which is kind of just a perspective I've never thought about before, but learning about it was very cool. So, wanted to share this with you guys.
In 1996, a young Japanese game developer named Inokenji happened to visit a school for the blind during a community event. While walking around, he found some students who were playing a video game, a game he had worked on. Ino's game had been designed for sighted people, but blind students were using their ears to play it. 10 years later, in an interview, he said that, quote, while the students couldn't have the full experience, and they were forcing themselves to be able to play it, they were making an effort to play it as well as sighted players. I thought at the time that if a blind player and I both turned off the screen and played together, we could discuss the game as equals. The idea of equality in experiences would become a staple of Ino's career until his death a few years later, but the games he designed in the past led directly to the present age of blind-friendly gaming and to a new indie game that I hope represents its future. But before we talk about that game, let's delve into the history of blind gaming.
Come on.
The first games that could be played by the blind appeared in the 1970s, but their accessibility was often accidental. Take the arcade game Touch Me in 1974. It was a tall podium with no monitor, just 4 buttons that could each play a distinct tone. The game would play a sequence of tones for you to memorize, and the player would press the buttons in the correct order. Like many games of the 1970s, Touch Me could be played by the blind, but that accessibility was almost never by design. In 1984, Apple PCs introduced Macintalk, which converted text on the computer screen into audio speech you could hear. The blind community soon realized this tech had just opened the entire world of text-based games to them. If you're not familiar with text-based games, events on screen weren't shown through graphics.
It's a boomer topic.
Described in text, and the player could respond by typing in actions. Thanks to text-to-speech programs, many of those games were technically now blind accessible, but that accessibility was still just incidental, and there were problems with the setup. For example, text games often used wordplays and riddles, which didn't translate perfectly into spoken words sometimes. Consider Leather Goddesses of Phobos, a text-based game from 1986.
Also, that's one hell of a name of a game.
A T remover,
Like,
spelled T-E-E. A sighted player would immediately recognize, oh, that's kind of spelled weird. This is probably a riddle. And with a little bit of experimentation, they'd find out that it literally takes the letter T out of things. For example, if you use the T remover on a train, the train would become rain. It's a cool little item, but it ended up being essential to playing the main quest. Since text-to-speech programs pronounce the item simply as
T remover,
a player relying on that tech might not recognize it as a riddle and then spend hours unsure what to do with it. These games were still blind playable though, and that was way better than nothing. But as graphic processing improved, more and more visible elements were being added into games. Eventually, the text-based genre was phased out entirely as sighted users moved over to newer, graphic-focused content. But that's not to say the blind community wasn't trying to play those newer games. They just didn't use their eyes. They were relying on sounds to understand what was happening on screen. For blind users, these sounds are known as audio orientation cues, and if you have enough orientation cues, you can determine everything going on the screen without sight. The more orientation cues you have, the fuller an idea you get of the game and your character's place in it. There are lots of ways that these orientation cues evolved over the years, like spatial sound or audio quality improvements, but the most important change was the developmental shift from narrow audio design to wide audio design. Games in the 1970s and 80s used narrow audio, where there was only a few sounds and each sound would be used for multiple things. Think about how a blind player would experience Sprint 1, a 1978 Atari game. The game only had 4 sounds: go, boost, caution, and crash. The go sound was
yeah, close your eyes thinking about it.
If you slowed down, if you turned, if you stopped moving, it didn't matter. You just got a go sound. The caution sound was played if a car went over an oil slick, or if a car hit another car. The crash sound was played whenever you hit a side railing, which sounds like an orientation cue blind players could use by learning the shape of the racetrack, except the shape just randomly changed sometimes, so it was impossible to use that cue to learn about your surroundings. There just weren't enough audio cues for a blind person to make sense of what was happening on screen. It's not sound, it's just noise. Now compare that to 1994's Michael Andretti's IndyCar Challenge. Try to count how many orientation cues you can pick up. Okay, how many cues did you find? Because by my count, there are about 5. 1, your car engine makes a different sound depending on how fast or slow you're going. 2, if you start going off the track, you hear that grass sound effect. 3, you get an alert every time you complete a lap. 4, the game actually tells you if you're going too fast. And 5, if you get too close to another car, there's a Doppler effect sound helping you identify how close it is. Wide audio design like this was beginning to let blind players play new releases competently, but games at this time still weren't blind accessible. It was just the ingenuity and hard work of blind players that were making them blind playable. The first major step up in blind-friendly games wouldn't happen until 1997's Sega Saturn game, Real Sound: Regrets of the Wind by Inokenji, the Japanese developer we talked about at the start of this video. After his experience at that school for the blind, he started working on a truly blind accessible game with no visuals at all. Everything from the start menu to gameplay was conveyed with sound. In Regrets of the Wind, you played an elementary school student who falls in love with a classmate. You follow them as they get older and direct some adventures they have in Tokyo. The story is conveyed through voiceovers, sound effects, and a narrator, and you play by selecting A or B plot decisions. There was never an English release of the game, but
So a
if you'd
VN.
like to read an English translation, I've left a link down in the description.
Apparently, it's just a VN.
Even though I live in Japan.
Hey, wild question. I just realized this now. Are there any VNs that have voice to text to voice? Is that a thing? I feel like that should be a thing, especially with how visual novels are in today's, like, you know, general zeitgeist. I feel like that's a thing. It should be a thing. It needs to be a thing.
Japan, finding a copy of this game was way, way harder than I thought it was going to be. I spent a whole day going from small game shop to small game shop just looking for a physical copy of Regrets of the Wind. But at the very last shop of the day, as soon as I mentioned the game, the owner, Mr. Fujita, lit up. He said it was one of his favorite games of all time, and we ended up talking about it for over an hour. Its innovations, its impact on the world, and some of its flaws. I told him I was working on a YouTube video that would discuss the game, so I wanted to buy it and a Sega Saturn to play it on. He vanished into the back room, popping out a minute later holding a Sega Saturn and a copy of the game, both of which he gave to me for free. So a huge, giant, mega shout out to Mr. Fujita. He is awesome. Thank you again. Regrets of the Wind didn't sell very well at its release, but Inno's work did make a huge creative splash. He inspired a lot of developers both inside and outside Japan to start making similar blind-friendly content, and his work is generally thought of as the birth of modern blind gaming. And as much as I respect Regrets of the Wind, it wasn't perfect. Even a mega fan like Mr. Fujita agreed it had flaws. In a game about reaching out to blind gamers, it gave them an experience that they could be immersed in, but only through the eyes of a main character who wasn't blind, and who often vocalized what he was experiencing in a way that maybe only a sighted person would find relatable. About colors, or the beauty of paintings, or describing shapes of things off in the distance. Regrets of the Wind made a bold effort to be blind playable, but it wasn't always blind empathetical. Games are about immersion, and putting yourself into a game through the protagonist is a huge aspect of that immersion. For a blind player, an audio description of things the character sees is a not so subtle barrier. Again, tons of respect to the game, it's just that there was still room for improvement. So I finished that game, and I started digging deeper to find more current blind accessible content. That led me to the smartphone blind app market. Starting around 2010, a wave of intentionally blind accessible design apps for phones started arriving. Games like Papa Sangre or The Nightjar.
I didn't know that this was a thing. This is also cool.
In the hands of both blind and sighted users. Touchscreen interfaces and gyroscopes were surprisingly well suited for this, and there's no question these apps were the most blind-friendly content we had ever gotten. But as great as this new market was, it ran into a genre problem. More than 90% of audio games are horror games. I wasn't really sure what to make of this, so I reached out to some blind gamers for their thoughts. While most appreciated that these games existed, blind players were still a little bit frustrated at the reliance on fear as a game concept. Sure, fear is a critical element in horror games for the sighted as well, but we have a huge library of games where you can stand up to monsters and fight back. That was rarely an option in these audio games. To both sighted and blind players, it left an impression of helplessness for players who can't see, and there seems to be very little innovation happening on that front. Of course, not all blind-friendly apps are like this, but the vast, vast majority are. So that's where blind gaming is right now, but what about its future? I want to introduce a game to you, a game that I think represents what the next generation of games for the blind should be like. It's called Lost and Hound. It's a Unity project, currently a demo, and definitely still a work in progress, but it's 100% accessible, friendly, and immersive to both blind and sighted
I like
players.
this. I saw this. It was very interesting to me too.
It's a sound-driven game where audio orientation cues are the ways you perceive and how you interact with the world. It does have a mode with visuals, but you don't need them, and the game is way, way, way more fun if you don't use them. And that word, fun, it's important, because I'd argue that until very recently, few blind accessible games could honestly be described as fun. They could be well made, they could have great level design and high quality audio, blah blah blah, but they were rarely exciting. You had to play carefully and anxiously, and that's not really the case with Lost and Hound. For the record, all gameplay you're about to see or hear was recorded from my blindfolded playthrough of this game. Any information that I talk about was expressed to me through sound. The player takes the role of a little corgi named Biscuit. As Biscuit, you walk around areas and help people with their problems. In the demo, you enter a forest area where a local sheriff asks for your help in locating some car crash victims. Joining you is your owner, who follows behind you wherever you were standing a second ago. Your dog hearing lets you pick up the sound of your owner's heartbeat, so no matter where you are, you'll always have that orientation cue of where you've been. You also are accompanied by two other dogs that move around your general area. If Biscuit barks, they'll bark as well, so you always know where they are. Any objects you get close to are detectable with a ticking sound based on your distance. Small objects can be picked up and carried if you want to use them as a customizable audio cue. The level design is one massive macro orientation cue. Forest areas sound like a forest. Areas near the creek play frog sound effects, accompanied by the sound of rushing water. Open fields use a minimalist audio design, so you kind of know if you're between two different environment types. There are lots of smaller but useful cues as well, like these two rams that would only appear near the middle of the creek, so if I heard them, I knew I was going to be close to the center of the map. So, okay, you can generally figure out what's going on around you, but how do you interact with the world? Weirdly enough, you have to use your nose. When Biscuit sniffs the ground, his dog's heightened sense of smell is expressed as sound to the player. So if you're looking for something, say the car crash, just sniff and the game will give you an audio cue of where that goal is. Even with all these cues, I played quite slowly at first. I was worried about getting lost, so I was constantly stopping to orient myself and never using the run button. I was too scared to really trust in my own hearing. After a few minutes of walking around, I did find the car crash, but the passengers weren't there, so I had to start following their scent. At this point, the game gets a little bit more challenging. I'm told there are wolves in the area, so I need to keep an ear out for growling. It did not take long for me to run into my first wolf, and truth be told, it was a little bit terrifying and a little bit disappointing. I was annoyed that the game was starting to lean on fear like 90% of those phone apps from before. But that's not what happened. See, wolves would only approach me if my group was spread out. So if I heard a wolf getting close, all I had to do was call the other 2 dogs in my group and they'd come together and they'd get behind me. When they do, the wolves back off. So while the wolves do represent danger, I don't have to run from them. I can stand my ground and face them down. That is, it sounds like a small thing to emphasize, but after playing so many audio games where I constantly felt helpless, this was a very refreshing mechanic. I started getting a lot more confident with my movement and comfortable in relying on my hearing. It was okay to make mistakes because the game was giving me all the tools I needed to find my way back from those mistakes. I started playing a lot less hesitantly, sometimes experimenting even with running in short bursts. Pretty soon, I found one of the car crash victims and I guided her back to an ambulance. She told me she was actually with her son and they got separated in the forest, so I headed out, this time a little bit more familiar with the environment, and eventually I did find him. But he's frightened and he's lost, so I had to earn his trust. I found a stick on the ground, I brought it to him, and we played a game of fetch together. This little game of fetch, it was one of the coolest moments in gaming I have ever experienced. Lost and Hound had been teaching me to rely on my hearing with more and more audio cues. My owner, the forest, the ticking sound of the stick, the barks from my dog team. When that kid threw the stick and I heard it flying through the air, it felt like everything clicked. And I didn't hesitate for a second to run after it at full speed. I raced straight under the stick as it flew, knowing exactly where it was and where it was going. All of my reluctance from the beginning of the game was wiped away in a second. I still don't even know how to explain why this moment was so impactful, but at this point, I started feeling
the confidence like he mentions about this is just makes me just super intrigued about it. Because it's like, you know, you go from reluctance from losing to losing a, you know, sense. And then you get that confidence back and you're able to do it without it. And it doesn't feel like a burden. And that's kind of very cool and empowering. And I like that. So, yeah.
Powered, not hindered by only having my hearing. It felt like a superpower. I didn't need my eyes. I could...
Empowerment's cool.
After playing fetch, the group will start heading back towards the ambulance. But a storm moves in and it adds a new element to the game. Thunder. Every few minutes or so, thunder would briefly overpower other audio cues, encouraging you to stop for a second and check your orientation. But the storm doesn't make you feel helpless, it just makes you feel like you have to play smart. Difficulty increases are what keep games engaging, and the addition of thunder was reminiscent of Mario level design theory. Early levels you can race through without much worry once you feel confident with the controls, but in final stages, you have to take a moment and consider your approach, even if you're good at the game. Thunder didn't make the game scary, it just made the game more challenging, and that made the game better. The group does make it back, and all the characters who helped thank you. I really enjoyed this moment. I thought it was nice how the game takes a second to emphasize how helpful you were instead of just giving a quick, "You did it" screen or something. A good blind-friendly game keeps its audience in mind, and the genius of this game goes beyond its mechanics and how you play. It's about who you play as. You don't just play some dog, you get to play a rescue dog. You're constantly being relied on by people who need your help. That's a total reversal of how society usually perceives the blind community's abilities. Sure, in media, they're often portrayed as tough and self-reliant, like Matt Murdock, the Marvel superhero in Daredevil, or Toph the Earthbender in the Last Airbender animated series, but it's not really how society sees them. In day-to-day life, many people view the blind as equals, but unfortunately as equals who can't help sighted people. It's a bad but common viewpoint, but in Lost and Hound, that dynamic is flipped. You're the only one who can save everyone. You don't need help. People need your help. You get to rescue people. You help them get to places they need to go, and you get to enjoy a couple of words of appreciation for it at the end. That's a very empowering concept. You know, after finishing this game, I started thinking about how small the game library really is for blind players. Don't get me wrong, it would be unreasonable to expect every video game to be fully blind accessible, but with just a few more games like Lost and Hound, maybe we could have something like what Inokenji thought of 25 years ago. Sighted players and blind players sitting down, turning off the screen, and having a conversation as true equals in our experience. Doesn't that sound pretty good? As always, thanks for watching or listening. In the description, you'll find links to a full text script of this video, Lost and Hound Steam page, and of course my Patreon. Have a chill week. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope to talk to you soon. Bye.
So I thought that was just kind of nice overall. Oh, Lost and Hound is now out on Steam actually. So yeah, it's a full finished game. It even has DLC and music and stuff, and yeah,
Today's
$25.
episode is sponsored by Surfshark.
Not too bad, so that's cool. So if you guys are interested, it's Lost ampersand Hound. So, and it looks like the reviews have been pretty positive, and that's good. All right, see here. Our time's a little bit short, so I'm gonna have to kind of pick some of these videos here. I know we have a lot of them, so we'll get to them. But oh, I want to show this one. This one was from who posted this? I think it was Lunar. Yeah, Lunar posted this one. Remember when we watched beforehand about the demo scene videos about the 3DS and the I think it was the Atari or maybe Commodore, something like that. Anyway, this is a demo that was made in 2019 for the SNES. So let's see what I haven't seen this, so, you know, first reactions for everything. Yo, 25 frames per second on a Super FX chip. Ooh. Ooh, that's really smooth. I like that. Oh, man. This is a lot more than what the Super FX chip was actually, meant to do, right? Like, this tracking already is very impressive. Oh yeah, also the fact that it's all one smooth, thing is also very cool, too. They're, moving parts and stuff, and... Oh wow. It's a lot of squares on screen. Or at least even flying through them is super
It's
cool.
official.
Oh, okay. All right. This one is another video from one of my favorite guys ever, Adam Neely. So he does music. And let's go for it. I'm sure you've heard about this news article beforehand about Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation, but I didn't actually know about it in particular, so let's learn about it together. He's really good. He's very analytical about music, and even though I don't know a lot about music, he still presents it in a very entertaining way. So I literally got recommended this video like 3 days ago and watched it. All right, let's watch it again.
It's official. Janet Jackson's song Rhythm Nation is a cybersecurity threat. It apparently contains a frequency which breaks laptops, or at least it used to. On his blog, Windows developer Raymond Chen recounted a time where a major computer manufacturer, very specific there, found that playing the song on one of their laptops would not only crash it, but any other laptop that was sitting nearby. Very strange. It turns out that there was something in the recording of the song that matched the natural resonant frequency of the specific 5400 RPM hard drives that the laptops use. Play the song, the hard drive pulls a Tacoma Narrows bridge and fails. This story spread like wildfire last week because honestly, who could resist? This song has a secret dark frequency which can break your computer.
One song has so much power it can make some old laptops crash.
Oh, they're off! But honestly, the thing I'm amazed about is that amid all of this hype, nobody seemed interested in discovering what the musical element was in Rhythm Nation that would cause the laptops to fail. It just was presented as a frequency.
It has to do with the frequency in the song.
And honestly, the truth is just way cooler. It's the bass line. The bass
oh, hell yeah.
is the thing which caused those laptops' hard drives.
That's cool.
Yes,
all right.
The bass line's so sick. It is a cybersecurity threat. To figure out why exactly and how you too could potentially use these ideas to break laptops if you so chose.
Oh my god, that actually works.
We have to talk a little bit about music theory, a little bit about resonance, and a little bit about music history. Let's get into it, y'all. This video was brought to you by CuriosityStream and my streaming service, Nebula. Part 1, a brief musical analysis of Rhythm Nation. Rhythm Nation was written by Janet Jackson and the songwriting team of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis for her 1989 album Rhythm Nation 1814. Now, the
Jimmy Jam is such an awesome name.
tune is in E. The bass synth and the guitar hammer out that low E over and over again in a one-chord vamp that holds the whole tune together. The parts are slightly different. The guitar riff sounds like this. The synth bass sounds like this. And the two of them together sound...
Oh wow, I could hear how that would fail after.
The vocal melody, at least for the verses anyway, is very syncopated. It's hitting a lot of those 16th note offbeats and uses primarily notes from the minor. This is characterized by the note G natural, the minor third in the key of E. But interestingly, the main hook of the tune, We Are a Part of the Rhythm Nation, isn't in minor. It instead uses notes from the major pentatonic, including a C sharp and a G sharp, the major third in the key of E. Janet riffs on top of the hook, and when she does, she uses the minor third, G natural. This in theory
Which don't DMCA this clip.
Natural happening at the same time, but it does because it's an example of blues harmony, where minor thirds and major thirds interact in a very specific way to create a very specific sound. Now, blues historically is often associated with the key of E, the key that Rhythm Nation is in, because E is the low string of the guitar. Guitar was an important part of the early blues, and so a lot of blues vocabulary that was developed is based on what feels good to play on this instrument. Don't worry, this will relate back to laptops failing, I swear. E is an important part of the blues, and blues harmony is an important part of funk grooves. In the case of Rhythm Nation, the funk guitar riff in E, as well as the syncopated melody, is likely a nod to the classic 70s funk tune by Sly and the Family Stone, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself.
Oh, there it is.
Now, because we keep hitting E over and over again, which is a staple of funk harmony, you might think that this is the offending frequency which was causing the laptops to fail. But there is something wrong here, Because any tune that is hammering on the low E string of a guitar should have caused this. And because the blues is so popular, laptop hard drives should have been failing left and right. Bedroom metal guitarists would be the real cybersecurity threat, not Janet Jackson. So the question then becomes, why specifically Rhythm Nation? Part 2, mechanical.
All my favorites.
Hard drives in particular are susceptible to vibration, like this video of a guy shouting at hard drives in a data center and then crashing them. Quality content.
Honestly, hold on. We need to watch that video because I love that video. Because it's just real. Hold on. Shouting in a data center. This is just so good. This reminds how you can unlock the Sonic 3D level select by punching the cart. Yeah. Because when there was a read error on the cart, that secret level select was the thing to make it immediately load next instead of give you a failure state. So that's why. Also, I just love this video because it's kind of just technically funny.
Hi, I'm Brendan. We're here in the Fishworks lab. Sorry for screaming. It's very loud in here with the air conditioners and servers all around me. We just made an interesting discovery and we thought we'd show you straight away. So over here I'm measuring disk I/O operations broken down by latency. I've also drilled down to disk I/O operations taking at least 520 milliseconds broken down by disk. This is using dtrace so I can do performance analysis of disks. I'm applying a write workload to 2 JBODs, which are over here.
They replaced all the cache codes to several. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What I'm going to do is not recommended. This is not supported. Do not try this at home.
And the latency increases where the screaming was. Watch him do it again.
This is not special effects, this is real. What we're looking at here is the effect of disk vibration. Vibration is a serious issue, and we can see the effect here that it's caused. The latency for the disks that are under the workload has gone up. Here I can see which disks have now had I/O operations longer than 500 milliseconds. And I can find out that they belong to the JBODs I was just shouting at. So, amazing stuff. This has been made possible by analytics from Fishworks, which lets us look at things we've never seen before. Disk latency, high latency caused by vibration is a real issue. You've seen it. It does exist. Just don't let Brendan shout at your discs.
That's right. Don't shout at your JBODs. They don't like it.
And that video was from 2008. I love it. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite silly like IT videos. Just because it's just like, oh, if you scream at your computer hard enough, it will actually, in fact, make things harder for the computer. So it's like shouting at a pet. That said, don't shout at a pet.
Content right there. Raymond Chen's blog suggests that vibrations caused by exciting the natural resonant frequency of these particular 5400 RPM hard drives was the thing that was causing the laptops to fail. It's how singers can break wine glasses, for example. They find the wine glass's natural frequency, which is determined by some of the wine glass's physical characteristics, sing that frequency, and then the wine glass vibrates itself into non-existence. It's like pushing somebody on a swing. You have to push back at the right time with the correct frequency, and when you do, very little effort can send somebody quite far. So what frequency failed those laptops? Well, it's difficult to know because we don't know the exact hard drive that was being used, and mechanical resonance is dependent on the physical characteristics of a given object. In a video that he did on this story, Dave Plummer was able to
Dave Plummer!
Hard drive failures with a resonant peak at 66 hertz, which is very cool. But that would probably only work with the particular hard drive that he tested.
Why 66 hertz? I don't rightly know.
And 66 hertz is also roughly a C, which doesn't make any sense because Rhythm Nation is an E, not C. I was able to find a paper on resonance in 2.5mm laptop hard drive specifically, which suggests a strong resonant peak.
There's no way any laptop speakers that'll go down to 6 hertz, 66 hertz.
Exciting. Why? When we load a recording
yeah,
of
maybe.
Rhythm Nation into Audacity and analyze it for resonant peaks, we find a very similar frequency at 84 hertz, which just so happens to be the note E, which is obvious because the tune is an E. But if you export that Audacity data, we find that the resonant peak is not 84 hertz precisely, it's 84.2, which is a little bit higher than an equal tempered E. It's not E exactly. What's going on here? Now, those of you with perfect pitch have probably been tearing your hair out this whole video because Rhythm Nation is not tuned to A440. It's been tuned up about 40 cents to roughly A450 if we're thinking about it that way. And that's the secret here. Rhythm Nation is not really an E. Part 3, Verispeed.
Oh, here we go.
Orchestras in the 19th century were in an arms race. They found that by tuning slightly higher than the orchestras from the next town over, they could play the same pieces of music, but the music would sound more brilliant and more evocative and more intense. Now, the standard pitch of the era had been set in 1859 by the French government so that A would equal 455
Oh, here we go.
hertz, the so-called diapason normal. But this was often ignored, and orchestras kept tuning their A's higher and higher through a phenomenon called pitch inflation. A's could reach as high as 455 hertz. Even today, orchestras in Europe tune a little bit higher than the standard pitch of A equals 440 hertz. Some orchestras tune to 442, 444, and beyond. Music can sound more exciting, more
Also, we are not talking about the A equals 440 versus 432 debate. We are not doing this. We are not going into that. That's a time for a different place in a different video. We're not doing it.
intense, more alive if you juice those tuning numbers ever so slightly. In the 1970s, recording engineers started using a trick to get kind of the same effect, making music more exciting by increasing the pitch. By taking the master recording of a song and using the Verispeed function on a tape deck, you could speed up a recording by a certain percentage, usually 1 to 2%. Not only would the music get faster, but the pitch would increase a little bit as well, making the whole thing sound more intense. This was often done on the radio single version of recordings to make the radio singles stand out more. You can really hear this effect on Jerry Rafferty's song Baker Street.
Allie,
How
hello!
much more exciting and intense the single version is.
This is the worst timing! Oh my god! Hello, Allie. How was your stream? How was rating? How was good? We're watching a video about the Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation song and how it breaks laptop drives. The doll bullied you, Yuri? Well, that means you need to bully the doll back. She was very mean. You need to bully her back. Tell her she's cute. Tell her she's very smoochable, okay? That's my assignment to you. And we'll see how it goes. All right.
Which one would you rather listen to?
She would not vouch for me for rating.
Single version. It's more exciting because it's a little bit faster and the pitch is a little bit higher. If we slowed Rhythm Nation down, we in theory could match its pitch to A440 and get a sense of what it originally sounded like before it got that Verispeed treatment.
I wonder how bad it sounds.
It doesn't sound quite as exciting.
Hey, wild question actually. Is Joseph Joestar's like outfit based on Janet Jackson's from Rhythm Nation? I just thought about that. Does this look familiar? This might look familiar. Also, Rose, thank you for giving Allie a gift. It's enjoy. It just like, do you see it? Doesn't Janet looks like a JoJo. I feel like this is intentional. Someone look it up.
It doesn't sound quite as exciting as the actual recording. Yeah, that's much
okay,
better
yeah.
for the dance vibe, right? Yeah. Now, what does this have to do with the laptops failing and blues harmony?
She's a JoJo, yeah. She's a Jaja.
Blues is often in the key of E because E is the low string of a guitar, and guitar was the most important instrument in the early blues. Funk is a repetitive rhythmic genre that's often based on blues harmony vamps, often in the key of E. Funk in the 1970s had a generally more chill and relaxed vibe that you can hear in Sly and the Family Stone's Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself, but just like the European orchestras had in the 19th century with their pitch inflation, funk went through a similar thing. By the 1980s, it was expected that funk be more dancey and more hype. And one way of getting this kind of feel is by slightly speeding up the recording of the master, changing both the tempo and the pitch. Rhythm Nation was likely recorded at A440 and then sped up ever so slightly. And when the tune was sped up to match that particular hyped dance feel of the 1980s, the low E happened to match the natural resonant frequency of certain laptop hard drives. Again, we don't know exactly what the hard drives were that we're talking about, but chances are their resonant frequency was 84.2 hertz. This is why Rhythm Nation, and only Rhythm Nation, not any other tune, not any other funk tune in the key of E, is the cybersecurity threat, because Rhythm Nation was the one that was sped up. I've been looking for other popular songs with similar resonant peaks as Rhythm Nation that could have potentially triggered those laptop hard drive failures. The closest I've found is Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls, which was recorded a bit sharp.
Yo, that's kind of metal.
Loading it,
I mean, pun intended, but, you know, still.
4 hertz peak. You would think that because the blues is so popular, guitar is so popular, and that Verispeed trick was used quite often, this would have been more of a problem for laptop hard drives, but apparently it was just Rhythm Nation which caused this. So to come up with a bass line so sick it breaks hard drives, you need to know the exact natural resonant frequency of that model of hard drive, which I can't imagine is an easy thing to look up unless you're testing things out. In this case, maybe you could find a hard drive like Dave Plummer's and write a tune with some serious resonant peaks around 66 hertz. In that case, in theory, you could write this mythical, godlike bassline. At the end of the blog post, Raymond Chen mentioned how this whole problem was solved. The manufacturer worked around the problem by adding a custom filter in the audio pipeline that detected and removed the offending frequencies during audio playback. So, no more threats.
You know, when I tabbed over, I didn't expect to see Adam Neely.
I'm sure they put a digital version of a do not remove sticker on that audio filter. Though I'm worried that in the many years since the workaround was added, nobody remembers why it's there. Hopefully their laptops are not still carrying this audio filter to protect against damage to a model of hard drive they're no longer using. That's kind of a fun prospect to consider, right? Maybe because of Rhythm Nation, 84.2 hertz, a slightly uptuned E, has just been removed from all laptop audio from a certain computer manufacturer. I think the reason why this story is interesting for me and has resonated with me and apparently a lot of other people is because it's a reminder that music has a real physical impact not only on us, but the world around us. Music has real physical power. It is vibration.
For a second, I had if I wondered
it's
if
a tantalizing intersection between technology and musical affect, and I think that's just really neat. And so just like how Joshua blew the horns at the Battle of Jericho, causing the walls to come tumbling down, Janet Jackson's bass line on Rhythm Nation caused the walls of the laptop to come tumbling.
Adam, are you okay?
That I'm going for, right? Okay. Speaking of metaphors and other literary devices, how's this for a seg? You can find educational content that explores things like that over on Nebula, the creator.
I'll let this ad play because honestly, at least this is a very educational service, and I'm everything. I'm anything but not encouraging you guys to learn things. So yay. Anyway. Let's keep going. Let's just play it out.
It's kind of like YouTube, but just for the kinds of videos that you would actually want to watch. I have my whole catalog up on there, including some bonus videos that you can only watch on Nebula. It's a great place to watch and discover quality content ad-free, as well as support your favorite educational creators. Now, Nebula, as well as this video, is supported by another fantastic streaming service, CuriosityStream, the go-to source on the internet for the very best documentaries with thousands of titles to choose from. It's kind of like what History Channel and the Learning Channel and other educational TV used to be, It's all over on CuriosityStream. If you enjoyed this YouTube video about music and resonance, you'll probably enjoy Stradivarius Mysteries of the Supreme Violin, all about what makes the Stradivarius violins so unique. Now, if you're interested in CuriosityStream, you can also get a subscription to Nebula completely for free by clicking either the link in the description or going to curiositystream.com/Adam Neely. This combination bundle of both CuriosityStream and Nebula will cost you
I just want to get Nebula for the extra low-spec episodes.
by clicking the link in the
Honestly, I'm kind of curious about it with all the YouTubers that I actually like advertising CuriosityStream and having content there. I'm actually kind of curious, not gonna lie.
description or the link right here on the screen. You're not only supporting this channel, but all of the creators over on Nebula as we create videos.
I might do a video as like I might just talk about look at it as
Thanks everybody so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, everybody. Let's hope we don't break any laptops with this one.
Nice. Anyway, so that was the last video for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. Actually, before we go, let's try and make that online tone. Hold on. Online tone generator. Can I? Oh, click to edit. Yay. Let's find out what this sounds like. That was fun. Ooh, square wave. Hold on. Ah. What's this? Triangle. This goes hard on my laptop. Triangle. What's this sound like? It sounds like the speaker's just like vibrating. And Sawtooth. What does this sound like? It sounds like electrical noise. My favorite one so far though is the sine wave. I don't know why. It's just weirdly calming, but also at the same time, I think I feel like the plate, I have a plate next to me. I feel like that's vibrating. So I'm going to stop. Anyway, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Oh my God. Ah, no, wrong button. No. Ah. Thank you guys for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. And of course, actually all sound is sine. You're right. They are all sine waves. Thank you guys for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, of course, to Allie, my favorite doll, for the raid. I also very much appreciate you. It's been 2.5 hours? Yeah, it has. We've been just watching videos and being, enjoying ourselves. So that's cool. Sorry, I'm just putting away some, stuff in the background. So, that's going to be it for this week's streaming schedule. Next week is going to be very special. As a reminder, Wednesday, the 28th is going to be a charity stream I'm doing for Starlake US. So, hopefully by, I think, Monday, I'll get a video out explaining what's going on. But long story short, it's going to be 8 hours of me ruining my thumbs for the sake of kids. So you know what? That's cool. And playing rhythm games. Again, for kids. It's going to be for the kids. Alright? And I don't actually have this mentioned anywhere yet, again, because I'm going to make a video about it. But long story short, any donation you guys are going to make, up to, I think, $200, I will match. So if you give $10, I will also throw in $10. Now you've given $20 to kids. Think about it. It's worth it. Help kids. Do you not like kids? Help kids. Anyway. That should be it. I'm not going to be streaming I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow or Sunday, just because I just, guild work is kind of a little bit stressful, and I just gotta get that done. Good luck to my friends for the Splatfest for Team Gear. We're clearly the better ones out of Fun and Grub, so I hope to see you guys soon on the battlefield. What else? I think that's really about it. I might post some spicy artwork that I got done today on my Twitter, so keep out an eye for that. Anything else? I don't think so. We're gonna continue the queue of videos for next week, though. Let's see, in the meantime now, who we can rate, if anybody. Let's see, who's... Oh, you know what? We got a good time. We're gonna send everybody over to Tane! I can't spell. She just started her stream, so this is a good time. So, Tani Tenchi is one of my friends, a succubus VTuber. She's still doing her uncapped subathon, surprising, at day 37. Good for her. Anyway, no message or anything fancy. Oh, hold on. No message or anything fancy, just of course be nice. Make sure you guys save before you go, and have a wonderful rest of your day, alright? Bye-bye! And when that timer runs out, we are going to rate her, so...